those partners belonging to the same race. So racial homophily was really, really high. And that factor of like, having a preference for your own race can demystify or like debunk the myth of Asian students not hooking up or having sex just as much as white students, because it's not that you are sexually repressed or conservative. It's just that you might not have partners who fit your racial preference. You might just be looking for the same race. So even if you don't say it out loud that, oh, I don't, I don't figuratively and technically like fuck with other races. I fuck with my own. Um, the data shows that that is the case. What can you do?
And I mean, like, so in sociology, this is a big deal for us, right? Because this kind of gets at this larger question of like equality or people like, tolerance for others. And it's kind of so, um, ho- I guess my question is, how do we fix it? Like, how do we fix this problem? Maybe it's not even a problem. I don't know.
I mean, if you want to fuck with your race, go fuck with your race. Just don't be like, just don't have prejudice against another.
Right,
That's
right.
what it is, right?
Good
I
point.
mean, that's what it is. Like, you don't have to harbor hate or like say, oh, I'm not going to like get on with you because I have heard this about your race. Like, that's prejudice. Um, and dating apps, for better or I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It has led to more interracial relationships, but it's also made it hella easy for us to filter people through using a filter that nobody else is going to know about me. So covert racism, overt racism, dating apps playing a role in that.
Yeah, the kind of inherent biases lie in the consumption of, who you interact with.
I mean, but at the same time, we kind of do that in person with dating anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
when you're doing it in person, you're not just like quantifying it with data.
I never used a dating app, but all of my exes could be my husband's brothers. Like, I have a type. And I didn't use an online dating app, but I still,
Brothers? Is that your type?
no.
Exactly.
I like how Greg
No,
and I
no
like,
single
we just
children allowed. No single children. Gotta.
Okay, phrasing could have used some work, but you know what I was going for.
I gotta
They
have
could
a
have been
brother so I can have an
related.
out. Like I got a hot brother. I'm a guy 2-for-1 deal.
Fuck me. I was trying to make a point about it's not just online dating that we use these psychological filters with. It's just dating in general.
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
question. Like, so does online dating and apps create new ways of interacting, or are we just more hyper focused on what we were already doing?
Well, let's not just talk about online dating. Let's talk about technology, right? Let's talk about YouTube. You can take the word online dating out and put Facebook in there, put Twitter in there, put Twitch in there, and it's going to be the same answer, right? And it's going to be the same question. That is, does it embolden our biases that we already have and create echo chambers? Or does it open up our mind to new ways of thinking, or making it a place where we can hold two conflicting ideas together? Well, it depends on the user now, doesn't it? Like, and we really are racing against the machine right now. Everybody knows that. I consider myself left leaning, but I will participate in right leaning humor. Now, hear me out before canceling me.
Saucy.
I follow this comedian called Andrew Schulz, and I don't know if anybody knows about Andrew Schulz.
Oh, he's canceled.
He
He's canceled. I'm just kidding.
he's
Okay.
born canceled. Like, he was born canceled as an embryo. Like, he's uncancelable. But he did this show called Schulz Saves America on Netflix, and I really really enjoyed that. But at first, I enjoy him as a comedian, so that could be a bias. But he really makes a case not against Democrats versus Republicans or liberals versus conservatives. He makes it a case against media. and that can be any media that we consume. He makes a case against algorithms that keep us in our silo, where we really have to fight to get out of that, because this shit is comfortable, right? Like meeting other people and saying yes to your ideas, comfortable. You really have to like spend that amount of intellectual and physical effort to like get out of that bubble, go to somewhere else. I mean, take the bullet of like, probably you're gonna get canceled if somebody looks at my feed, but still do it so that we can be rational beings.
I feel like I've seen Hassan look at Andrew Schultz content in the past, Marcus. I feel like you and I have probably seen his work.
I think it might be one of those things where he brought it on stream, but we never like got the context that we just heard from Aditi. Like
Hassan's he's a leftist streamer on Twitch, very big.
But I okay, so I got married like right before the whole dating app thing, and it just seems, maybe I'm out of touch, and so correct me please. It just seems that it's a lot different now. I was on Plenty of Fish, Match.com. I wasn't like into it. I had like just a profile or whatever, and it seems a lot different now than like Tinder and Bumble, like all these whatever you kids are using nowadays. But I don't. Yeah.
I'm worried with this line of thought, because it becomes, the radio's going to ruin kids these days. The TV's going to ruin kids these days.
Isn't it though? Isn't it different though? Like for real?
No, it's really not. You see someone, you judge if they fit your standard, you talk to them, you see if you're compatible. It's the exact same thing. It just happens sometimes online, sometimes you meet them for a date. And I've never even used like any of these things, and I don't see the big fuss about them, to be honest.
I want to go back to Greg's question about like, when you say, is it complete your question? Like what are you getting at? Like, are these dating apps ruining the chances of commitment?
No, I'm not. No, I'm more like interested as a scientist. Like, it seems different. My observation is different. Is that it's some things must be changing. So I'm wondering, like, as a sociologist, like, are there things in the data like that we can see that like what is changing, if anything is changing?
So changing in terms of the number of apps coming out, or like people's reactions to apps, or the outcomes of relationships that are happening from apps?
I guess I was thinking more of like the outcomes of the relationships, because like at Match.com or OkCupid or whatever I was using, like I wasn't going through like thousands and thousands of people. It was like nothing, like nobody. I don't know. Sorry. Like I was just like, I guess.
I was also having this conversation earlier. Look at me being very popular at another podcast, but like I literally was having this conversation at another podcast where I take it, Greg, that you're a millennial.
Yeah, I'm 86, so I'm like on the older side.
Just I'm from 86. Don't drag me with you,
Yeah.
please. Like,
Okay.
I thought you said I am.
Very cool. No,
Like,
we're the
here I am
millennials. We're the millennials.
I am the man. I'm the old man. What the hell?
But it's just maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe I'm out of touch, and
No, you're
Amber's
not.
right, nothing's changed. But I don't know. It just seems like that.
But we are having a boomer moment. Let me tell you that, right?
Okay.
Because and millennials, we are uniquely positioned. Okay, I'm going to use a very graphic analogy, but like it's an analogy which will make sense to you. So if you're with provide that safe space to me, because millennials are the taint generation. We're neither here nor there.
Okay.
Because we
Oh
grew
Jesus!
up,
She's right. We were like in between this technological boom.
yeah,
I was there.
and
I was there.
we grew up when like we still fantasize about, oh my gosh, we had a childhood, like look at these people with their screens, and then we come back into our screens. So we grew up in a generation which knows offline as a way of living, and which knows
True.
online as
That's true. I totally understand that.
Yeah, the grass touching generation.
That's
grass.
for real.
Don't worry about that's a Twitch meme. Don't worry
Dude.
about it.
The street lights,
Outside and touch grass.
dude. The street lights ruled
That's
my
the
life,
meme.
man. Like you had the street lights were like the calendar and the time that
Listen,
you needed. That was it.
I was the exact same
man.
way. I was barefoot in the swamps of South Carolina pretending to be a warrior cat. Like, I did not grow up on technology, but I also went home to my computer sometimes to play SpongeBob typing. But, like,
But
I didn't have internet till I was 15.
But for real though, like the apps and everything, like they haven't changed the way that we've conducted ourselves in dating at all. Like that just seems so odd to me.
So
No, the thing is, what you're thinking, the reason why I bring this up, and like, I want to complete the analogy because I just don't want to use the analogy taint and then just leave it. I want to complete it. So, you're thinking from a millennial mindset where you're like, oh my gosh, like we had this one thing and like we made it work. But the generation that you are talking about right now, which uses dating apps the most, is Gen Z, who grew up with a bottomless pit of everything, right? So they know an infinite scroll of Twitter. They know an infinite scroll of, I mean, nobody uses Facebook, infinite scroll of TikTok. So they know how to self-regulate.
I use Facebook.
Right?
Interesting.
So even if they are on an online dating app, they know that, listen, like this is never going to stop, right? We need to call it at some time, right? We need to call
Interesting.
it where it is. So they are better equipped at negotiating the online dating culture than us, unfortunately, where a part of our brain is like, oh my gosh, this doesn't need to be so hard. Like, look at our parents. They just met each other at church and now they are 75 years old with 5 children. And Gen Z is vibing on TikTok and Twitch and like making $1 million. And here we are, frazzled, not knowing what to do about this new area that we find ourselves in.
Interesting.
Damn, that's a good. That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
just generational cultural shifts in how we interact in romantic and just straight up sexual relationships.
I think acknowledging the shift is important, but I don't think putting moral judgments or like judgments at all on them is warranted, because then it turns into damn kids these days and blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, the stats are like the premarital births are down, the birth rate's down, like all the outcomes of like this like promiscuous, crazy, out of fear mongering.
They have the internet to know.
Yeah, it's all
prevent
overblown.
that.
So it's kind of interesting to me that like. It's just interesting to me that how this communication has changed. Because I remember when I was on the internet back in my day, 98, going on the internet for the first time, I was like, damn, dude, instantaneous human communication. This is going to change everything. And now we have it through apps and stuff like that. And it's like in everyone's hand. And it's kind of like, it just seems different to me. I don't know. It's just, it seems like a phase shift.
Do you remember going offline? Like that was the thing. That we went offline. Like, what? Like, that doesn't even make sense nowadays. So,
Yeah, the log off button is for whenever you're like deleting your account forever.
Yeah.
Dude, I had an experience. I got like really bullied in elementary school. And I remember like when someone that was bullying me, she had her older brother call me at home. And it shook me, man. It shook me because it was like, oh my God, this is coming home to me now. Like this bullying aspect, this is like this safe space for me where I was getting bullied at school, and then now at home, like, oh my God, that was a big crazy thing that happened to me. But to have that everywhere now, to have your dating profile, your online profile all linked together, is that a thing that happened? Like, how is that working out? Like, are people that are more popular on like other social media apps more popular on dating apps?
I didn't look at that. What I did look at was do dating apps favor the introverts, right? Like if you're socially
Interesting.
awkward, then if somebody who's an outgoing person, would you have better luck in an online dating app? Turns out extroverts are just hella extroverting everywhere. Like
That's
they just
really
need
weird.
another platform. So it's called the rich get richer hypothesis, where people who, we think that the internet is going to be the space of like where introverts are going to bloom. Well, if only the extroverts make space for them, because we are out here dominating conversations in every module that's possible. So we are talking in person and we are taking over the internet. I say we because I am an extrovert ambivert, but but like, yeah.
Ambivert? Did you say ambivert?
I am an ambivert too.
Yeah, yeah.
What is a ambivert? Oh, well, ambidextrous. Okay, so it'd be kind of
It is the
It's
bisexual
both.
of vertices, so like it's
perfect. Perfect.
I'm a
For me, at
panvert.
least-
I'm a pansexual
me-
of the
God damn it.
vertiverse.
For me, at least, I'm like extroverted when I'm out, but I need to come home and like recharge and play video games at the end of the day. But I can like talk to anybody all day, but gotta come home and like, yeah.
Well, one question that keeps kind of floating in my mind, because we're kind of, tiptoeing in this topic of like, are these relationships, are they, is it efficacious that we're using these kind of online dating apps now? And it seems that the Gen Z has, is more acclimated to this type of dating scene. But at least within this kind of space, we have a kind of an issue of parasocial relationships forming. Is there any kind of issue with these kinds of relationships forming on like online dating? Like, is that some kind of an issue? I know there's a big issue, particularly for women who are on dating apps with like unsolicited, like, pictures and whatnot, and people who have multiple sock accounts. Is any of that in your research?
So when you're talking about parasocial, is it like imagined relationships?
So at least in the Twitch space, there's there's like a disconnect for a lot of people, particularly on the chatter side, who feel that there is like a friendship in this dynamic, to streamer to chatter relationship, because particularly for people who stream full time, you're on for 6 to 9 hours a day, and usually you have your regular chatters, and there's a rapport, there's community memes, there's recurring like jokes and gags and things that come back up. So there's an imagined like friendship here, but we don't see streamers often don't see chatters as people. We see them as text on the screen, and
Speak for
vice versa.
yourself.
Yeah. I love my chat. What do you mean? But vice versa, chatters sometimes only see streamer as person on screen. So there's this weird like dehumanization, like subconsciously, that we do, where we don't see people as people on this platform. It's very weird.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that's kind of forming in these online dating apps, where we're interacting with these people, and until we are actually there face to face, this is like completely disconnected from any kind of actual human interaction, at least for someone who might be, going through that. I don't know.
I didn't measure for that, so
Okay, well.
I didn't. So I'll tell you like what I did measure for, and reasons why students still prefer meeting somebody through their through school or through their friends of friends. The only reason is kids. I mean, we're talking about 18 to 24-year-olds. Like, think about ourselves when we were 18 to 24-year-olds. Yeah, our hormones were all over the place, but our sense of belonging was also really, really high, that we wanted to have friends. So I asked these students, like, historically, where have you found most of your hookup partners? And tell me some benefits and risks associated with the way you have looked for them. And one of the dominant answers for students who mention getting their hookup partners or meeting their hookup partners through school is so that they could form a friendship with them. And I also measured like for their frequency of communication, like how many times did you talk to this person? And they are connected with each other on social media, they're Snapchatting each other, they're talking to each other. They want to build that friendship. They want to spend more time with them. So I mean, if you take it on the reverse side, maybe that's something that's missing in dating apps, because the one benefit that they talked about when I said, why do you prefer using dating apps to meet hookup partners? They said, it's just convenient and it's really clear. So it is what it is. It can't go anywhere else, right? Like if you started as a hookup, it's a hookup. There is no like burgeoning friendship that can come from there. But if you meet somebody through your friends of friends or through a student club, etc., there's always that like idea that, like, this we can be friends, right? If you live in the same dorm, that sense of building some sort of friendship is really, really high.
Interesting.
Right.
I didn't even realize that people actually like still met like out in the real world. I don't know. It just seems like that would be like all the apps and stuff would be naturally where people would go, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like a don't intrude on my personal space. Like I'm just fucking getting a coffee, dude. Like leave me alone, kind of thing. I can understand that view actually, where it's like if I'm on an app, then I'm on an app, but I'm just like me right now, living my life. So don't like hit on me, weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird, man. I don't know what Gen Z wants. Like, at one time you want to be friends, but another time you want to be left alone. They just want to be.
Billie
And
Eilish tickets. That's what I've learned. Billie Eilish tickets.
Every time. Every
you
time I
diss
get that
her.
wrong.
No, I love Billie Eilish.
Billie Eyelash.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought we were doing Gaga. I got Gaga season tickets,
that's
bro.
Oh, that
and
was
I'm
like
fucking
2006.
God
What
damn it,
the
dude.
hell?
I got
Gaga.
Gaga
Actually,
it
season
was like
tickets. I'm
2010,
fucking
not
yeah.
2006.
I'm always wrong on this stuff. I'm always wrong.
I'm still
Did
waiting
you
for
guys
Rihanna's
see there's
album,
a-
so, like,
Did you guys see there's a new dating app out that connects to your Spotify and matches you with people based on your song preferences?
Oh,
What do you-
Jesus.
So what do you think about that? I mean,
An interesting concept.
yeah.
I would never have a match. My tastes are so scattered.
Yeah, you're
There's
done.
no shot that would
You're
work.
done, dude.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
nobody's
done.
listening to metal. Nobody's. I think.
Yeah, basically.
I think, as a happily married man, I think I would say that something that I got wrong before, like I met my wife, was that I would have thought that I would have wanted someone that was more like me than who she is, and she's completely different than me, and that's amazing, and that's what I want. I want that. I want someone to push back on my ideas. I want someone to tell me if I'm fucking up. I want someone that's gonna. She introduced me to new food, new types of cooking, all these different ways of life, and it's like, holy shit! Like I have like 2 times the amount of life experience to draw now from, as opposed to just like doubling mine, which would just be like me, and that's kind of boring. So I don't know. That's my
I
thought.
feel that, man. Like I hated all of my teachers growing up in school, and I'm next month will be 10 years married to a teacher.
There you go.
Oh, congratulations.
Crazy.
See, what happened with me is I always thought that like political ideology and religious ideology were like the ones that had to match up, but my husband is not on my wavelength with that. But everything else, we're identical, like our
Everybody's
mannerisms.
married over here?
Not me.
I married young. I met him in 8th grade, so he was friend zoned for a long fucking time, and then we got married young. 8 years.
Let's do
8 years.
Let's do another
Did you
4
get married?
hours on friend zones.
Did you get married at 8th grade? Like, oh my god.
No. 22.
It is Utah. I mean,
It is Utah.
I don't want to fill in
He's
that thread.
ex-Mormon.
I don't want to fill in that thread. I mean, you
those
know,
ex-Mormons are crazy.
Yeah.
Horny
No, they're the
Mormons.
best ones.
I know.
You learn so much.
I mean,
Yeah.
so I brought it up because, like, I read this news article about it, and I was thinking, like, this is actually kind of interesting. Like, are we going to start seeing dating apps that tap into this algorithmic technology of your interests, your likes,
Mm-hmm.
and then what's that going to look like, right? I mean,
Digital arranged marriages.
the algorithms gave us QAnon, right? Like,
I think
What
to some
could
extent that's
possibly
already
go wrong?
happening. Like, I was actually reading, this is just a Reddit post, so take it with the appropriate amount of salt, but there are some folks talking about Tinder, and they were figuring out that if they didn't pay for, like, the Tinder Pro or whatever the, like, premium membership of Tinder is, the algorithm is actually hiding matches from them, and then slowly but surely it would like drip them into their match list without a notification, kind of like a faucet, just to like keep them on the app to be like, oh hey, look, here's this match we hid from you. You matched with this person like a week ago, but we didn't tell you until now. So it feels like there already is kind of that like somewhat sinister background control, but at this point maybe more from like an economic context because they want people to pay for their premium membership. But if that already exists, yeah, I think it could absolutely be sort of weaponized in that respect, right? Like you could wind up having a bunch of mutuals, have their first date at the Freedom Convoy driving around the DC Beltway or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could absolutely weaponize that. And Facebook already did that with Cambridge Analytica in the election. Like, they took all of the demographic information about people's interests and tried to construct the psychographic voter profiles to figure out how to, target those people with ads and other, political content. So I think there's precedent, and it's already happening in the dating sphere with Tinder. So I honestly, it's probably just a matter of time.
I mean, I'm somewhat of an optimist. I think, it depends on how it's implemented.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But of course, this is where the political and economic sides come into it. Do you really trust the people who run these apps to have the best, good faith approach to it? Or are they going to be focused on, user base, serving ads, making money?
Ooh, just wait until the company that runs TikTok is able to tell your exact match after 10 swipes.
You know which answer it is, Marcus. Come on.
It's popping videos. That's all it is. That's my wife and I are like, you saw that one too? I'm like, oh my God, don't come to me with that. I can't believe you were watching that. It's like, no way.
Are popping videos the acne?
Yes,
videos?
popping really large
Pimple
pimples
popping
and cysts.
videos.
Yeah.
It's I'm actually past popping them into ear extractions, man. Holy shit. Amazing.
Oh God.
That's top level. That's honestly, that's top level.
It's
No, but
it's so
Technology was a
satisfying.
mistake.
And yet you diss Power Wash Simulator? It's the same shit, man. It's just as satisfying, but you do it yourself. Sorry.
True.
Continue.
So
I'm Googling Power Wash simulators right now. What is that?
yeah.
It's
well,
a
this is-
Steam
this
game
thing,
where
though.
you are using a power washer to clean. That is the game.
Oh,
But everything's like caked in really thick mud, so you can like see it as you wash it. Oh, mwah.
Very aesthetically pleasing.
I've put like 30 hours into that
Yeah.
game. Not ashamed. Maybe more.
Yeah, gives you the
Probably
same
more.
feelings when you peel the plastic off of your phone. It's like that
Or
exact
like
same feeling.
sunburned skin.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I'm probably the only person on this podcast that cannot relate to sunburned skin. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Oh,
because
sorry. Need to check our privilege. I'm sorry.
What is my privilege? I have sunburned skin. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it sometimes. I haven't been to the beach since like 2010.
no, I
Gotta get
did
yearly checks for melanoma, baby.
No, it's Florida sun really burnt me though. Like, if you think a brown person cannot get a tan, Florida is going to prove you wrong. It's just so extremely hot. But I had a good time in Florida. This was back in 2009, just FYI, not right now. I don't know what the fuck is happening over there, but
Free
Yes,
Florida,
Florida.
brother.
is everybody in Utah? No, I know. like,
No,
you're in
no,
Oregon.
just me.
No, we're all over the place.
So
Right.
yeah, I'm currently in Missouri, I'm currently in Las Vegas, but I live in Missouri. So
Got it.
Yeah, I'm South Louisiana.
Ooh.
I was born in Louisiana.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you?
I'm a Southern baby.
Do you want to reveal what area, or do you not want to keep that online?
It's a small town, Kenner.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not that small.
Is it? I don't know.
It's like
I
right
haven't
on
been
the
there since I
outskirts
was
of,
2,
like,
so-
the Orleans Parish area. So yeah, it's pretty big.
I knew it was a suburb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have like beads from Mardi Gras from when I was
Hell
2.
yeah.
They don't only give it to the women that lift their shirts, by the way. They see a cute baby and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
I think Marcus had a question, but don't forget we need to ask Reed and Rap's question.
Okay, yeah, we'll save
Oh,
Reed Rap's
Jesus.
question for the
Oh, God.
very end of it.
Oh god, what
Um,
is he asking?
I think
can
you
only
already know the
imagine.
answer,
Okay,
Grandma.
yeah, all right. I know exactly what it is then.
Aditi, I don't know if you like necessarily measured for this, but you can, I think, maybe just comment broadly on this. At least, and I think maybe Professor Q can relate to this to some degree. At least in sort of like the gay world, it seems like everybody's just kind of getting stratified across a whole bunch of different apps. There's Tinder, there's Grindr, some people are now on Bumble, there's Hinge, there's Scruff, Hornet. Like it just keeps going and going and going.
What?
Growler.
Rough.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of like gay dating apps that are focused around like particular body types or preferences. And like
Ah,
Scruff, and literally
interesting.
like the name kind of speaks for
Oh,
itself,
yeah.
like burly, scruffy
Yeah.
men.
Yeah.
Continue.
So I guess-
What's
I
Bumble?
thought you were just listing random fucking words.
That's what I mean.
Did they
Like,
just throw letters at a Scrabble board and take whatever came up?
What body
Yeah,
type
instead
is
of that,
Bumble?
Reading through his Gmail inbox.
yeah, I'm going through the spam
You know what
folder.
Bumble is.
What's a body type? With
You know what
Bumble?
body type that is.
What? I have no idea. I have no idea. Is that a butt? Is that a butt thing?
It's
Okay.
a butt thing.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just making that
bubble
up. Don't
butts.
listen to me.
Bubble.
Well, no,
Bubble
straight
butt.
app
Bubble.
originally.
I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand. Help me. Help me.
Bubble buddy.
No, so Greg, Bumble was a straight app initially, and then just gay people started
Oh.
using it. So
Oh.
Bumble was meant to be sort of like the Sadie Hawkins of dating apps, where like women get to basically like send the first message, where they like had the
Ah.
power. They felt more like
How
comfortable
quaint.
reaching out to people. So I could dig the concept.
Quaint?
But all of that to say, like, there's a pretty big app ecosystem, at least in the gay world, and I'm sure to some extent it persists in heterosexual dating too. I guess in your data, do you see a particular preference, like any one being used more than the other? Are there ones that are associated with certain outcomes? You know, anything like that?
Tinder is a catch-all for kids. Tinder was the highest. Next up was Bumble, and then somewhere hovering around. Yeah, Bumble and Tinder are really really up there. Third, very close contender is Hinge, but like it kind of shows up. But yeah, Tinder is something that they use as it's like Tinder is the gateway drug. You know, like okay, now I have the flavor of dating apps. Now let's dig a little deeper into what my preferences are. So Tinder is the orientation app where they learn how to right swipe and left swipe and see what the
interesting.
landscape is. And then they branch out as they get more seasoned, then they branch out. That's what I have noticed in the data. But also, like, you know, when you said something about like the pimple popping and and the ear extraction, first of all, I like all of them, and I like the commentary that this doctor does, like when they are like, you know, ear extracting on a whole different level. Like, forget about Netflix. Which episode I'm watching that. Like, that's my
true.
show.
How did we get here?
I don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't know. Silicon chips and fiber optic cables. I think. I don't know.
I love just going on like this huge tangent with people and then trying to look backwards, like what the fuck
Yeah.
happened, and I can
Tracing
never.
the
How
thoughts.
did we get here? There are
Where's my
apps
mom?
that are coming out, that match students, or not match students. What am I talking about? So Bumble acquired this app called Fruits in France, and Fruits is a friendship-based app where I think I may be completely wrong, but it's an app that fosters connections between people based on things that we foster friendships on, right? I mean, think about the friends that you have in your life. I mean, at least a lot of my friends are meme-based friends where we just send each other TikToks and memes and we just never talk, never have a human conversation. And the fact that I get I mean, you enjoy the same memes and the same kind of humor that I do. That's a huge bonding factor, right? Like you laugh at the same stupid shit that I do. Oh gosh, like now we can fight. And that's the basis of friendships. And if the data shows that students are looking for friendship-based hookups / relationships, then why not just foster this one thing and then let them take it from there? So dating apps might be migrating toward that area where they're integrating students or young people's what do you call that, native digital habits to create native organic technological relationships, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, they're
that's
kind
like
of
a planned
creating
marriage.
like a ideal rotation.
Yeah, like I mean, when we think about organic, like, you know, the biggest beef that people have about online dating is like, oh, it's not organic. Like, shut up. Like, I mean, then please, what is organic right now? Do you want to meet this person at a barn? Like, no, that's not happening anymore. We are organic in all other dating, in all other apps. So why not
Preach.
just harness that organic behavior into online dating and foster meaningful connections from there?
I mean, I would say that the big thing with like online apps and stuff is that there's a lot of bots, right? There's a lot of like fake accounts or OnlyFans or something like that. So I'm curious, like how you controlled for that in your own study, and then like what was the percentage of bots or OnlyFans did you find?
There were no bots as such. I'm trying to figure out like what did I one of the disadvantages that they did say that of hooking up with somebody through an app is catfishing and bots. Like they were not sure if it's the real thing or not. And then you have shows like the Tinder Swindler, which really capture our
Oh
imagination.
my gosh, that movie was insane.
What is
Yeah.
this?
It's a documentary about a guy who picks up women on Tinder and will like date them on Tinder for a month or 6 months and then take them out to this fancy vacation in this fancy hotel. Like he says he's the son of a diamond billionaire, takes them to this amazing 5-star hotel, and then a couple months after that or so, he'll say, "Oh, like the diamond business is really scary and we've got people coming after us and I can't use my credit cards. Can you get a credit card out in my name or in your name for me?" And then he'll use that money to pay for the next woman to go to the 5-star hotel. So it's like a
Wow.
whole cycle where he just gets to sleep with women and go on these great trips and never spend a dime of his own money.
Wow, it's like a Nigerian prince, but for sex.
Yeah.
It's a Ponzi scheme. It's literally a
Be right back.
Ponzi scheme.
Yeah,
Yeah,
th-
Ponzi
there's
scheme,
a-
but Tinder.
That's
Wow.
a specific class of phenomenon called romance scams, and so, but that's a pretty sophisticated one. But there was a U.S. soldier that they found that his pics were being used on different dating platforms, and he would contact the women and get them to money because he was trying to get out of the Middle East. And he would tell them different places, and he would have like this, ongoing relationships with different people. So it's kind of a big deal.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't realize there
The
was
only
an
dating app
underworld
I've
like
ever
that.
used was My Yearbook.
What the fuck is that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Facebook, but strictly for dating. That would find people that went to areas like around you, and that's it.
Hey, it might have been Adult Friend Finder, the prototype.
The OG. The OG.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine that conversation with your grandchildren? Hey, Grandma, where did you meet Grandpa? This website called adultfriendfinder.com. That's awesome.
Facebook marketing mistake.
It's better than sugar dating. I mean, think about that. Who was that person who was going to ask me a question about
Oh
food?
yeah, Read and Rap's question.
Yeah, I literally just told him in chat to do the thing. I'm
Oh,
waiting
no.
for him to type it.
I do not endorse.
Hey, I mean, he helps do a lot of the behind the scenes work. So, he wants me to
Just
read
let
the
him have
entire
this.
text. Oh my god.
dude. Somehow he gets this
Oh,
as a command
God.
in like every single Twitch channel I've ever been in. I'm not kidding. I don't know how. Read and Rap is everywhere. It is crazy. And he's
Can you give an abbreviated version of that, please?
Yeah.
Read
So
Rap?
let's see. How do I put this diplomatically? Yeah.
Don't
So
put it diplomatically.
cougars. Like,
Oh,
was
good
that
God.
was that a thing that came up in your research? And like, what did you find? And
Thank you for bridging it into our discussion today.
what what is like? How is age a factor in these days?
There was not a lot of age discrepancy. They
Really?
they did hook up with some. I mean, and when you're talking about hookups, though, I'm not talking about sugar dating. I'm talking about like I asked what the age of their hookup partners were, and they were in the same like age bracket almost. Like it was not like they were hooking up with somebody who was like a bajillion years old. Or was born in '86, as Greg would say it. So
Hey, nobody's
That's what
perfect.
they-
There's only a certain amount of us. What can I say? Wait, you're
No.
saying indiscriminate of gender, right? Male, female, female, male.
Yeah, there was not a lot of discrepancy. I mean, sugar mamas, though, like, come on, we are thriving over here. Like, it was only sugar daddies before, but even when sugar mamas are making 76 cents to the sugar daddy's dollar, he's still out
We
there
still
balling.
out here.
He's still out here balling, like
Girl bossing.
younger men out. So there's an age discrepancy over there. But in terms of hookups, not a lot of deviation, no.
That's really fascinating to me, because you think, I mean, my hypothesis would be that they'd be on these apps kind of like trying out new things, right? If you have the ability to kind of like at a buffet table, try all these things, why feast when you can get some appetizers kind of thing?
Because everyone has their type.
Greg, are you sure you're not gay? Like that was a very gay answer. I'm gonna
Thank you.
say.
Thank you.
I mean, I did find that
Took me a while to get to the buffet. Let me pig out.
sure, I think after TikTok can be a good diagnostic tool of finding out our sexual orientation.
Oh my
because
God.
It's
I did delete mine.
it
It was
is-
so bad.
What?
Yeah.
TikTok is amazing.
No, I deleted it.
You
I
have
deleted
to
it.
you have to heart the videos that you find funny, and the algorithm will start to understand you, and then it will only recommend videos that you find funny. No more thirst traps, no more
that's
any
all
of
mine
that
was.
bullshit. I
all it
know,
was.
but you have to scroll past it and heart the things that you find enjoyable or entertaining, and then that's all it is entertaining, hilarious shit. Like, my TikTok is great because the algorithm got inside my brain and now is like, you'd find this funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And I
it did-
do. I
Surrender
fucking
to the
do.
algorithm,
Yeah,
Greg.
and this is the problem, is that my TikTok within a day was just boobs and popping videos. That was it. That was just that was it.
You have to. Oh my god!
So I don't know.
God forbid they get combined into a singular video.
It was awful.
All these fucking
Those are
boomers
gross,
out here
dude. No,
hating
no.
on TikTok.
Dude, those are gross, dude. Those are gross. Let's be honest. Those are.
What boobs are pop? I mean, like, seriously, I want to go back to Chris's question. I mean, are you coming out as gay? Like, one thing is telling us that you don't like boobs now. What are you talking about? That is not right. I
You weren't
mean,
happy your TikTok was flooded with boobs?
No, it was fine, but that was it. If that was it, that there was. It's just,
Oh, so there was a lack of a boob variety. Oh, okay.
No buffet. Only one
yeah,
course.
it's just
Yeah.
exactly one chord the entire time. It's just-
it's a variety.
I honestly have not seen any boobs on TikTok.
it's it's cleavage. It's not like actual like.
No,
like
I know,
full
I know,
nipple.
no, I know, but I haven't like seen any of that.
Have you seen Shrek twerking though?
Oh, absolutely.
What?
That's Shrek.
What?
That's like my culture. Okay,
That is peak culture.
that's
Excuse
that's
me.
my
peak
God.
millennial culture.
I've not
don't wanna
seen this. I don't
comment
want
on
to
what I
see
see on
this. This is
TikTok.
too
Oh,
weird.
it's so good.
Too
It's
weird.
like Sexy Patrick from the SpongeBob movie, but Shrek.
Okay. All right. There's a line. Maybe we should delete the internet. It was a
you
mistake.
seen
it was
Sexy
a mistake.
Patrick?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You didn't see the
wonder-
SpongeBob movie.
No. Fucking of course not.
Greg, I have to go on a mission
What are you
now
talking about?
to culture you.
I just want to point out,
Sexy Patrick.
QAnon was spread far and wide through the use of TikTok, and there's a bunch of other stuff. But of course,
That's
I
interesting.
I look at the dark side of things. So
I don't.
I think
even wanna
I'm just
go
an
into what
eternal
the
optimist.
algorithm on TikTok feeds me. I don't worry about it. Just don't ask questions.
So, Greg, if you've deleted TikTok, what are you on?
I don't do it like social media pretty much at all, other than like
Oh,
this. This is like,
God. Are you
yeah.
one of those?
yeah, I deleted my Facebook, no Instagram, no Snapchat,
Wow.
nothing like that.
Same.
Yeah.
Really?
Reddit?
What was that?
Reddit?
Oh yeah, I
Reddit?
do have a Reddit. Yeah, yeah. That's like Reddit's like I guess the only big social platform other than like obviously my YouTube.
I see. Okay, I don't mind if people have or do not have social media accounts, but I do not like the holier than thou shitting on social media that you don't use or you don't use any, so you just shit on all of it as a whole. I don't know. That's
Yeah,
just me.
I'm okay with. I mean, I'm okay with it. I just don't. I don't use it. I hate how, kind of like how we've talked before, how kind of like algorithms constantly are driving what you're watching, and there's no. I don't feel like I have any say in what's going on.
Aside from TikTok, most of the content you're going to get is from things you follow. So, I mean, like Instagram, I don't see anything unless I have followed that person.
Yeah,
And a lot of
like
ads
with,
you get
Twitter's the
served
same way.
based on your history too.
Yeah, like when I
Facebook
was,
makes suggestions, but like they're every like 10 posts or whatever from people you follow or are friends with.
Gremlin,
So,
go ahead.
I'm going to take an opportunity to praise the Zoomers. I got my first fidget
Oh,
spin.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
And like your generation, I'm this thing. Gosh, God bless you. God bless
I worked
you.
in an
They figured it
arcade at a
out.
redemption counter. I worked in an arcade for like 8 years or 8 years. 8 years. And I worked the redemption counter a lot. And when we got those things in, oh my God. Oh, so many 7-year-olds. We ran out of stock just of the fidget spinners. Like every single week. It was ridiculous. I did not understand them.
I miss
I guess-
Tamagotchis.
I guess
Oh,
all I'm trying to
Tamagotchis.
say is
I got mine taken away.
y'all aren't that bad.
I was a Neopets boy.
Oh my God.
Neopets.
Yes. Sorry.
So I'm
I
curious.
see.
I'm curious about the sociology kind of like research, and like you did introverts and extroverts, and I'm curious, like, how did you quantify that, and how did you make sure? How did you see that they were that? You know, because I mean, like, there's Twitter API, there's all these open data like sources. So I'm curious if like which ones you used.
I didn't measure extrovert versus introvert, but when I
Oh,
was making up my
sorry.
hypothesis that who's going to be more likely to use online dating compared to other means, that's when I
Okay.
read previous literature which made the claim that introverts would have used it, but then they didn't. I mean, yeah, you're just as likely to use regular ways of meeting than online. So I didn't use that, unfortunately. You're giving me ideas for my next study. That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like Twitter, like what are some social like platforms that have open APIs? I know like Twitter has it. I don't know if Facebook does anymore. I don't think you. But yeah, that'd be
is
kind of interesting.
What is API? Interface? Something? like
Yeah,
this?
it basically allows you to pull like, so for example, like any of your the profiles that you're looking at for anyone, you could search Twitter for like, or get an associated name, and then you could download all of the tweets that are public. And then like, for example, I'd be curious, like word cloud kind of thing, like wondering like word associations with each account, seeing if they're like more likely to be posting different things or different words.
There are so much. There's so much research on Twitter data. It's
So that's why.
it's stupid at this point. Yeah. I haven't looked at that, but like, I mean, yeah, just to see that and like use it in the aspect of online dating. I think that'd be incredible. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm interested to look at online dating behaviors in non-young people, like older generation. Like I'm talking like 40 and 50 who have gotten divorced, or who have like, they're or 50 or 60.
old people. Real fucking
Yeah.
old people. 40
Listen,
years old.
I'm
Fuck me.
I'm like, I am closer to 40 than I am to my 20s.
my God. It's okay.
So it's just it's really sad at this point, but but I mean, if you're talking about like younger generation, and online dating is an option for them, right? Like, but like really older generation who have either gotten divorced and have spent 25 years in their marriage, or have lost their spouse, or coming out at a very later age, like where their only option sometimes is online dating. So like their experiences are so different. They make it work because there is no other option but to. So maybe we can get a better optimistic picture of like what online dating could be from them.
That's really
I think
interesting.
the future prospects of relationships actually is more bright for Zoomers than it is for previous
agree.
generations. Strictly because they do have more options. They're able to be a little more open. They're able to kind of understand themselves from a younger age, which those of us who weren't able to, the kind of issues we went through growing up, kind of having to hide part of ourselves, and the kind of puritanical approaches we have to romantic and sexual relationships growing up, and even in adulthood, in America at least, they suck. And I don't think the Zoomers are going to have to necessarily worry about that as much.
Yeah. How do you think the metaverse is going to change the dating game?
I was just gonna ask that. Oh
Not
my
at all.
God. I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah, it's not going to touch it.
I think it's going to be something that's not going to take off as much as everyone's like concerned that it will.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is so high just because like not VR kits are like easier to come by, but like usability and cost is so like the threshold to be able to do it is the metaverse is a marketing gimmick at this point.
I mean, you
And
could
I'd
do it.
also
With,
argue that. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, you can do it with the cardboard boxes, like an add-on for your smartphone. You could go right in right now.
Yeah.
Well, like, and on that note too, Greg, like this is what I was gonna say. VR chat, like the Steam game, like there's already a video game called VR Chat. That's exactly what it sounds. You're just in various rooms in virtual reality as a avatar of your choosing, and you just chat. Like I think one of the biggest Twitch streamers in Soda Poppin' is literally dating a VTuber, someone who literally is just like a virtual avatar on the platform. Like nobody's even seen their physical body through a
Living the
stream.
dream.
For real. Dude,
So
yeah. One of my favorite artists is Porter Robinson, and on his last CD, he every single track that he put out, he developed a VR world. And like on his Twitch stream, like you went through him, he was like, "This is what I was feeling when I wrote this song," and you got to like experience this whole like world that he made like, it was so cool. Hours and talking to chat, like it was such a cool thing. And I don't know, like I feel like VR chat, when you're going through something with someone else, like experiencing like something in context, like is that different than just reading text?
It could be
Yeah,
more,
I would assume so.
yeah. Yeah, it could be more immersive.
Just
I
back to
think
the VTuber thing, there are viewers, a large number of them, who explicitly seek out VTube streamers. Like it's a huge starting movement. It's insane. Like I have someone that I play prop night with who's like a VTuber, and his channel is growing exponentially faster than mine, and I'm fine with it. I don't want to be a VTuber, but I've just noticed that it's like, and he got a new avatar and it like blew up. It's insane.
I think the top performing like 50 channels on YouTube are all like globally are all VTube.
Not all of them.
Amber, is he male presenting? You used male pronouns, but is the VTube avatar
It's female.
Son of a bitch.
It's really interesting to watch and like hear a male voice coming out of this huge titted woman. It's very bizarre, like cross wiring.
I mean, I mean,
it's funny, but
one of my favorite shows is RuPaul's Drag Race. So I mean, like,
hell
do you think that these people are imagining themselves as like, is it like drag? Are they
mean,
doing drag right now, like virtual drag?
maybe, or it might not be that deep.
That's a good point.
It might just be for the views. I don't know.
Damn.
I haven't asked. I don't want to. It's not my business. But like,
Interesting. I think some of it is for the views, but I mean, drag exists, so I don't know.
Some questions better left unanswered.
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
on that
I don't
note,
care. Good for him. Fuck yeah. Go on. Slay.
Go off king or queen.
Dude, drag kings
non-binary
need their own
royalty.
show. Like, I haven't seen a single drag king. I've actually been to a drag show and saw a drag king. It was really cool. So.
They've had some on RuPaul's, I thought. Or no? Am I
no drag
crazy?
king. No, it was a.
Oh, I'm thinking of.
They had a straight white male this season though. So that was
I'm thinking of, there was another drag show I watched on Netflix that was like Fear Factor plus fucking Drag Race, but
What?
they had. Yeah, they like.
Oh, you talking about Brule
when
Brothers?
you lose challenges,
You're talking
yeah.
about Brule Brothers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Dragula.
Yeah.
I mean,
when
everyone.
you lose challenges,
yeah, I'm a-
Dragula. They like pierce
love drag.
people with needles and like have to jump out of helicopters.
Well, that's
fucking,
that.
mm-mm.
But they're into like it's like monster and kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's monster. Drag.
I couldn't watch it all though because it was like a lot of needles, and I
Yeah.
Here, let me go ahead
Content
and I
that's
guess
out right now is so insane.
Please,
Yeah,
please.
here,
I
let's
exclusively watch YouTube and Twitch content, and all of my YouTube content is just stuff that was done on Twitch. So I feel like I'm so out of the loop.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, here we can I guess touch base on forms of content, but I do want to check in with the Didi. How are you doing on time? Do you need to head out? What are you feeling like?
I can stick around for another like couple of minutes, and I have to jump off. Else, you will see a very cranky side of me because I'm.
Well, here to avoid that horrific side, let's just go ahead and I guess create like a hard break point and sort of end our chat together with the nice extroverted you. So maybe go ahead and just like give, I don't want to call it like a closing statement because this isn't like a debate, but maybe just kind of again for our audience, some people have been trickling in.
Yeah, where's it going?
Having our discussion.
Where's this stuff going in your
You
mind?
see the audience of this. I mean, please teach me Twitch before I leave. So, like, how do you chat? Where is the audience?
It's
How
just
do I
us.
know?
You're just talking to us. It's just we're
We're talking
out,
into the void.
We're hanging out, smoking a joint, and and just
So cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
If you look on
in
Grimlow's
Utah, never.
screen, you can see the chat is showing up, and so so Amber, Grimlow, and Homozygo each have their own channels and their own chats, and they're chatting with it. So while we meet in Discord, the audience logs in through Twitch.
Correct. So you're talking to an audience of roughly 50 across everybody's stream.
I think that's
And I
right.
just
Yeah.
told everybody that I sniff old books in the library.
Much worse stuff
relatable.
is said on these streams. Don't you worry.
Smell of an old book is
Yeah.
not
I mean,
comparable to
that is
anything
probably
else.
one of the most innocuous things that has
Yeah,
been said
that's-
across all of our
that's-
streams.
wow. How are you ever going to recover from that one? You're like reading? What? You like reading books?
What a nerd
Actual
you like
books?
reading.
What paper? There's like paper.
Get her out of here.
Wait. There's like paper and then paper and then paper. Is that what you're talking about right now?
In
You mean a
sequence.
Kindle, honey?
Like staples?
Thanks.
Are you like there's like tons of staples together? How does that
Oh
even
my
work?
God.
3-hole
I don't
punch.
know.
Is it a 3-hole punch binder? I don't understand.
What do you mean a binder? What is that?
Oh God, see that? Even in my
Oh,
own
here we
reference,
go.
dude, I fucked it
You're
up.
trying not to be a boomer.
Damn
You're
it.
still a boomer.
Fuck, dude, I got shit.
Dude, I was so mad when I found out that my high school was giving kids laptops. I was so frustrated.
Oh, that's a bad thing, dude.
I wanted laptops.
What?
That's a bad
Why is
thing,
that a
dude.
bad-
Yeah, I'm
Why?
sorry. I'm coming. I used to when I was going through it, I used to be like, oh man, why aren't we doing laptops? And now with like my kids, like, dude, they're doing like Zoom. I mean, well, because of the pandemic and it's an unvaccinated population. I'm happy that they did social distancing and all that kind of stuff. But laptop based, tablet based learning, for kindergarten. I mean, you do what you got to do, but now I don't want that in the classroom. I don't want them using laptops or tablets in the classroom.
Oh, yeah. One of my students said that, right now all of my classes are podcasts because they just shut off the camera and they just listen to them.
I've got a hot take on this topic as I feel like I have for this entire discussion because I'm just a weird one, I guess. But like, I got my first 4.0 semester when shit went online.
Wow.
I learned exceedingly better than
That's
I did
incredible.
in person.
My wife's like that. That's so good.
I don't know
I'm
why.
jealous. I'm jealous, honestly.
Did
I
you
didn't
have,
get a 4.0, but I got my first 3.0 ever during COVID.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Improvement during quarantine. You love to see it.
What were you gonna say, Aditi?
I was gonna ask, I'm curious, what was it? Did you have access to lectures that you could go back and watch, or did they extend the deadlines?
So I think it was lectures being recorded because I have ADHD. So if I don't catch something the first time, I can just rewind it and write it down the second time. And that was such a boon to me academically because I never missed anything. I took 6 hours to take notes, but I did so much better because of it. So,
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
but I mean, I know that there are people with other learning styles who need that person to person interaction, but just on a personal note, I loved school online.
I mean, do you think that there is an age limit though? It seems like a developing younger brain that's already so, I mean,
It's
dude, but-
exactly the same as going to class. It's just online.
yeah, but dude, I mean, like my kids, man, like I have a 5-year-old, and like you put them in front of a TV and it just brain melts. You can see just like blur, like it's just like a mind meld with
mean-
the TV. And
I think that's just your perception, to be honest. Like, I had a
Interesting.
TV in my room since I was 6, and I did
Wow.
not brain melt. I just enjoyed SpongeBob and then went to school and did well.
Interesting.
I think
it depends on the class, and I think it just depends on the style of who's teaching.
I
And
think
there's so
I
many
think
variables.
it's just that juvenoia that this generation isn't going to be as well, like isn't going to turn out as well as we did, or something like that. I think we have to try really hard cognitively to fight that, because that's not the case. Like, as much as it feels that way, it's not.
They're
And I think
they're
that's
saying,
really
like,
important.
but they're saying things are better versus saying things are different now, and how have things it changed based off of that. I think that's totally normal. Just having like an elitism on that is bad, and I totally agree.
But you were
with
just saying that you think it's bad that they're giving laptops to kids, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
kind of elitist.
No, it's
Well, it's putting a moral judgment on it that shouldn't be there. Like, you don't think that should be happening, but you don't really have a reason. You just say, I don't want my I don't want my kids having a computer in front of them. I've been on a computer since I was like 2. I'm fine. Talking to strangers on the internet, no less.
So I would push back just a hair on that. There is some empirical data that shows that actually you do learn better if you like actually using a book, like a physical thing. You tend to remember, but some of that data is actually changing just a hair. So there's been some new stuff come out where they've like kind of tried to measure it a little bit better. So it's very much like, for me, it's an empirical question. I can tell you, I have a class going on right now, same class, same material, syllabi, almost exactly the same. And the in-person class does way better than the online class. And I think this is what's going on. I think that my students in the online version are cramming for the exam. But I think if they were like actually putting the time in and doing things as they should, they'd probably be doing just as well. But anyway, I digress.
I do know
See,
that. I'm sorry, Amber. You can go ahead.
I got another anecdotal example to counter yours. I took OChem 2 online my last semester in college, and the class average was, I want to say, like 50 or 60%. It's OChem. It's normal. But now my best friend is taking OChem and they're doing significantly better. And I told her, like, everyone does poorly, so the curve is great. But this semester, people are getting like 70s and 80s on the tests. So maybe an increase in sample size would help.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
need to
I
be
mean-
exploring it more.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problematic, though, too, for lots of reasons.
Here
but-
we
These
can
papers, are these papers like the OChem one, are they hand graded? Are they open-ended questions? The only
The
reason I'm
tests?
asking is because I, as a teacher, can tell you have been very generous with my grading because I'm like, you don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you. It's fine. Like, just get
The exams?
So yeah, I mean, I'm
They're-
very generous with my grades.
So most of the test is multiple choice, and you select the answer, and it's either right or wrong. And then the last half of it is like short answer, but you're just answering questions that are either right or wrong. So there's no wiggle room in that class because it's like a hard science class. You're right or you're wrong, and that's all there is to it.
Amber,
Yeah.
do you think that
So-
you could learn like lab techniques through just watching someone do it on YouTube?
Listen, that is such a false dichotomy. I can't.
Sounds like you just changed your mind.
Okay, learning concepts is completely different than learning a hands-on skill. Don't even fuck with me on those two things being equatable right now.
But there's a big.
The
you're right.
whataboutism.
No, you're right. No, I mean you're right. They're not learning about what DNA is versus amplifying it with PCR is two different skills. I agree with you. But
Well,
I think that
This
there's
is
some.
the part where I
but my whole
usually
point
check
is-
out because I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, we may need to take
Sorry.
the molecular biology stun lock and save that for
That's so
another
fun.
moment.
But I guess my point is that there's some stuff that you could learn through like a virtual like world versus like you have to do in real person. I guess my real problem with it, like with virtual learning and stuff, like that's such a small age, is that my wife and I try to limit our children's TV time, and we know like when
Why?
because like when we don't, they just become completely different people, to be honest with you. They're more irritable, they're angry, they fight more, they combat us like more when we're trying to do the chores and stuff of every day. And so it's just when we set like a schedule and stuff and we keep that routine, then that's kind of okay. But I guess what my problem is that when the school kind of gets these kids addicted to the screens, and then that brings it home. It's like we didn't
Addicted?
choose that. Yeah, I would use that term. Yeah,
I think that's a pretty heavy-handed term.
I would use it because they're actually every day they're touching it, they're opening it, they're looking at it. Inside of a classroom, like I wouldn't want that.
I would say like maybe habitual. I would not say addicted. That seems pretty heavy-handed in my opinion.
With the dopamine response that people get when they touch a smart device, it's not like too far off.
Yeah, but a
So,
smart device
I'm
is not a
gonna-
computer for going to class. Like there's a huge difference between the dopamine kick you get from browsing social media and seeing people be successful and giving your opinions on the internet than there is watching your teacher talk for hours.
All right, so I'm going to jump in real quick because I got to run to another meeting
Nice.
for the conference I'm at. But before I do, I want to give you all
Vegas.
a look.
Nice. Dude, Professor Q, make sure you go off the strip, man. That's
Oh yeah,
the real
no,
Vegas.
I went to school out here, so this is
Never mind. Sorry, you're good. You're good. Sorry.
Yeah, like check that view out. Oh my god. All right.
Nice, man.
Better than my view.
Um,
I'm going to hop off with Professor Q as well, but I really enjoyed the fact that we have moved on from online dating to online learning. And I'm like, this has been gratifying on
And pimple popping.
Hey,
multiple levels. I'm like, I have
Sprinkle a little bit of that in there.
I'm gonna go to sleep happy, but thank you so much for having me today. It was so incredible to know
thank you.
you
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
on.
for coming on.
and to know Twitch. All right,
Yeah,
take care,
and
guys.
be sure to pick up her book. Best way you can probably help her out.
I think I've seen that book more than I've seen your face tonight.
Yeah.
is to recommend it to your librarian, to purchase it,
Yeah.
to buy it. If you can't get a hold of a copy,
I linked the book, the Amazon link in my chat. Do you have a place you would prefer people go to buy it online?
Listen, I mean, I'll be the first one to say, if you really want to help me out, just like invite me to other collabs or
Done.
like my post on LinkedIn or Facebook, because the book is priced at $95.
Yeah.
I'll be the first person to tell you that I didn't produce knowledge worth of $95. That is just academic publishing being academic publishers.
Dude, that's
So
nuts.
if you really do want to help me out, just like engage with my social content is what I can request you to do. So follow me on all my socials and just keep up, because I'm collaborating with other podcasts too, and I would love to be in touch with you.
Is that
Yeah, get
normal,
into
like
Twitch.
books?
For academic publishing, yeah. So you do all this hard work, you get the credibility of having a book, only that the book is not accessible. So I
Oh
really
my
appreciate
gosh.
democratizing research. So I'll take any opportunity I get to publicize the work so that people get access to it and we can talk about shit.
Is it? But
You plug your socials before you head off.
Yeah, where do I put? I've been looking for
You
a
could just
chat
say them,
button.
and we'll
Yeah, we'll put them in our respective chats.
Oh wait, hold on. How do I do I put it somewhere?
You can just say it.
You
it's
can
fine.
send me a message.
Oh, I can just say it.
Yeah, you
it's
can
my-
just say it.
I am Aditi Paul. I am Aditi Paul on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. I am on Facebook. It's Aditi.Paul, and on LinkedIn, it's Aditi Paul PhD.
Ooh, TEDx speaker. Ooh, fancy.
That's
so
when you know you've
interesting.
made it.
It's so interesting that a private book is like the standard, because you'd think like a peer reviewed publication or something. I guess this is a compendium of all of that research that you're like the book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
It was like a year and a half worth of work. So and people like Chris have helped me out so much in making sure that we get the right channel to talk about Gen Z and to talk about dating and to talk about online learning at the end of online dating. So
I'll tell you this: there's space for that kind of content on this platform.
really, I would please send me some suggestions because I want to explore Twitch. All I've been exploring till now are podcasts and social news outlets. But I would explore Twitch.
I would say definitely if you're interested in it, watch some Twitch streams because I've seen some streamers who have never watched a Twitch stream in their life and didn't know what a gifted sub was, and you got to like learn the environment a little bit because there's a lot of nuances and intricacies in there that you got to kind of suss out before you like hop in.
Yeah, good
Just
place
advice.
to start is Lumiru. Talks about like intersectional feminism and stuff like that. They're very good.
Looney Roo.
And once you
Looney
figure
Roo.
out what Poggers is, you know you're doing well.
That's like 50% of chat.
Yeah.
Huggers.
I
Oh,
will-
there they are.
Dude,
I
I
I
was
see it floating across the screen right there. There it went, and now it's gone.
Wait,
Oh, there's another one.
You are doing that. You are not doing that.
No, that's my chat doing that.
What? Your chat is lit. What? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah,
These things float.
and
Do
we
it.
got to have you back on because like now I followed your Amazon link to like your website, and now I'm looking at all like the things that are found in your book, and I have all these questions now. Like it's like so.
Please, I will happily talk to you. Any reason I get to talk about Gen Z.
So
and
cool.
online. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for inviting
All
us.
right,
All right.
later, Professor.
See you later.
Guys.
Adios.
Thank you
Bye.
both. Very appreciated.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a good one.
So, wait. I don't want to wrap up yet.
Go.
Just
Hold
I have
on.
one. I have
Go
one
ahead.
last point.
Well, no,
One of my viewers.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No, sorry. I was gonna say like even after we finish this discussion, we don't have to like call it because there's still
another.
more. Yeah, we can like maybe not on this particular topic. I think we wanted to segue into what we were talking about in the ministry chat. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted
Oh,
to
no,
say
you're
like
fine.
we're not necessarily done when you're done with this point.
yeah. So one of my viewers, Electric Snow, brought up a really good point while they were like saying bye. He brought up poverty and like schools giving computers to kids that may not otherwise have the means to have computers, that kind of thing. Just thought it was a good point because I didn't even think of that when I was like thinking about it and talking about it. So I thought that was a really good point.
That's something I can talk to like personally. I've been part of my outreach and stuff working for volunteering for a nonprofit organization, and one of the things that they did was use county computers and wipe their hard drive and then reinstalled an operating system on them, and then gave it to disadvantaged people that were like doing coding classes. So they're graduating, but they didn't have a way or a means to actually code. So the idea was to like go to Girls Who Code classes and give them like a free computer and stuff like that. And a lot of people, it's an interesting problem because a lot of people, since they're giving a laptop, a lot of people in poverty actually don't have access to the internet still. You'd think that everyone has access to the internet, but they don't have a smartphone. So, because they can't afford the monthly payments. So, yeah, so really interesting.
I had a thought while we were kind of discussing the technology and education thing. Becca, during lockdown, she didn't have a full-time teaching position yet, so it was like a month or two while somebody was on maternity leave for like second grade, a couple months while somebody was on maternity leave for kindergarten. And during lockdown, it was very difficult for like especially the younger ages to do online classes. Not impossible, but the hurdles that had to be overcome were much greater. So I think there is a kind of a balance to be struck kind of in like the earlier developmental grades. And as we progress into later grades and we're dealing with more like heavy issues or heavy classes, then yeah, we can probably do more, because that would also grant us more time for kids to be able to, socialize during the school day. There's also conversations to be had about how we do education in America. So I don't think it's a one size fits all approach for it.
I'd agree with that, Grandma.
I don't know how you feel about that, Amber.
I don't know. I like cautioning people against nervousness or fear towards technology, just because of my upbringing and my personal standpoint. Like, my dad made sure that we were on computers and knew how to use them because he knew that they were going to be extremely important once we were older, and he was fucking dead on right. But like, I just like being the voice of reason because there's so much like mob mentality, not gang mentality. Jesus Christ. There's so much mob mentality about technology and how like dating apps are ruining Gen Z and computers are ruining Gen Z and social media is ruining Gen Z. And I just like to like, okay,
Yeah. Well, that kind of fervor is not new. When newspapers became regularly available, and the advent of like radio entertainment started to become the same, like more commonplace, articles and papers were written about how radio is like stealing the attention and minds of the youth and like converting them into communism and stuff like that. So the same kind of stuff that we say today about like kids on TikTok, it's the same stuff we've said forever. They said it for us with Game Boys when we were growing up.
That's why I said it sounds like radio's ruining the kids, the TV's ruining the kids. Vsauce has a fucking amazing video about it called Juvenoia, which is like this. I know, me too. It's like this. He looks at the generations. He looks at like the cycles and how every generation has the younger generation under their like proverbial foot, and they're just like, these kids these days, they don't know, blah 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 blah.
But like my 5-year-old like acts differently when he's gone to my grandparents' place and he's watched TV all day, and it's like he comes back and he's like physically acting differently.
But is the technology to blame in that situation?
Or is it like regulation? Like, like how much time?
Point. I mean, he's
no, it's not even. I'm not even saying regulation. Like, is it the technology's like I played games, but I didn't throw a fit when it was time for bed or whatever. I don't know if I'm just fucking weird and I'm not normal, because I know that kids like there are some kids who like will not be separated from their games. But like, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, or my parents had a different like parenting style or something, but I just never had that like argument with them. I don't know.
I mean, to be honest with you, this is not a question that's ongoing in my mind as a parent and thinking the same thing. So I'm constantly thinking about the same points that you're bringing up, and it's just like an ongoing conversation in my mind. Like
absolutely.
What am I doing? What could I be doing better?
I don't mean to like make you question you or how you raise your kids or anything, but like I just from my personal experiences with technology, I feel like there's a lot of fear, but like at the same time it's validated because some kids like really do act differently when they engage with technology, but like I don't know why that is, but I don't think we should blame technology for it.
Well, I mean, because it's fat, like the technology and the TV shows. I mean, one auto plays into the next TV show, or it's just easy to digest and it's entertaining, and the other things like that we have for him or our other kids too, like they just don't really engage for whatever reason. Our younger kids don't actually engage with TV as much as our oldest. I don't know. I mean, that could be just
what's the fear there?
For which one? For which kid, I guess, or all of our kids?
For engaging with like the TV, the shows that just keep playing. Like, what's the fear?
There's good television. Like, don't get me wrong. There's like Sesame Street, Storybots is really good. And these are Blaze and the Monster Machines is another one where they're actually explaining scientific concepts. They're explaining DNA, proteins, how an ear works. Like our oldest, because he watched Storybots, like he knows how an ear works. He can name all the bones in the ear. It's like,
but like what's wrong with something like SpongeBob where it's just silly fun?
I mean, we have that. We try to kind of like regulate it so that
But
there's
why?
some education to it, because we'd rather have
why?
them learning than not learning, right? I mean, we'd rather learn than not learn. And I mean, if you could, wouldn't you rather be learning about something rather than not be learning at all?
Not always. Sometimes
Sometimes
I
I just
need
wanna
to
turn on
fucking
some,
be
like-
brainless and watch reality
Yeah,
TV and play
but
video games
I
and forget I
understand that, but
exist for
you're-
a couple hours.
But your brain's a little bit more developed, is my point, is that your brain is like able to kind of like make a conscious effort on rules, boundaries, limitations, and stuff like that. And as a parent, like you
Okay,
kind
but
of set
that's the
those.
point I'm trying to
into it.
make is
Yeah.
I've been playing video games since I was like old enough to comprehend. Like SpongeBob typing, like yeah, I learned how to type, but it was a bunch of fuckery. I had webkins. I played World of Warcraft since I was like 9 years old. Like I didn't have the mental like scheduling to be like, okay, I need to stop at this time and do my homework. I just did my homework when I got home, or my parents would be like, okay, you play for like 3 hours and then you do your homework, and if that's not enough time to do your homework, it's your fault. And and it was all like I always took that responsibility and did it, but I don't know if that's just me, and I know all kids are different and all that shit, but I'm just saying, like,
I mean,
and I've watched SpongeBob every night before bed from
you're right.
6 on.
There's a natural tendency as a parent, I think, in order to try to have your kid relive your life and like figure out what you, as a parent, what you did wrong, and try to make sure that they don't make those same mistakes. And one of the things that you have to learn as a parent is to like disassociate from that feeling and say that they're living their own lives in the now, and they have to be best equipped in order to do well now in today's society. So
Yeah, and Reed Rat makes a good point. Like, video games develop your brain in good ways too. And like Tropical Geek said that in SpongeBob you learn about like interacting and friendships and stuff like that. So I mean,
Yeah, there's-
just because
there's
you don't
stuff.
learn stuff that's
No, like I said,
necessarily
there's-
sciencey, but yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of like things to be learned, as long as there's like a moral story that's being told, like,
But like I still don't see the need for that either.
okay.
Like I know that there's content that's not appropriate for children, obviously.
So
but
then why even
like,
watch your?
why
like-
is there a purpose?
So
Why
then-
does there need to be a purpose behind relaxing, decompressing, that kind of thing?
Okay, so then
even
why TV at
even
all,
kids
then?
need fun.
why
because
TV
it's
at
fun.
all? No, but they can
It's
have.
fun. It's entertaining.
Then they can learn other ways. Then
So
I'm not. Why does it have to have an innate like value for you?
because they're developing brains, man. They're really young and they're learning a lot, and it's really
Developing
nice.
brains need to relax too and have
and
fun.
they do, and they relax and they have fun while they're playing. I mean, it's not like, but I think like a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old is kind of like they're just endless bounds of energy. Like you can't really stop them, and they're not really kind of like an adult where they have like an end of the day where they need to like relax and de-stress. It's just kind of like, what's next?
So there's a concept that I heard of a while back that I try and think about a lot when I'm like feeling that I'm hyper online. Is mental bandwidth. That our brains are like machines, and we do like overload it with memories, and we have to like do a system restart. That's kind of like what introverts do when we decompress. So there is a time for like just literally brainless content. To
Yep.
just, even if it's like lo-fi, like I'll just sit and listen. Oh, he's gone. Yeah, but it's like mental bandwidth. You need to like reset your CPU at a certain point. Now, that kind of effect on a younger brain, like a 4 and 5-year-old, I don't think there's as much research on that, but that certainly exists within adults. But I don't know. This is coming from like a person who's like decided not to have kids, but I have worked with kids for many years. That the brainless stuff is just good for enrichment. It helps them understand what they like.
I mean, I think a good example of like brainless content that we do allow our kids to watch. People are gonna get mad about this, but Street Sharks. Do you guys remember Street Sharks? Oh my god, God damn it! I closed the chat window.
Is this a 1986 thing?
It's like early 90s. Yeah, it's Street Sharks. They're half man, half shark. They live in the asphalt and they fucking go. It's sick,
I
dude.
do remember what
It's
you're talking
sick.
about.
It is sick.
Yeah. Okay,
And,
I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry though. I'll tell you, if you look at Street Sharks versus the crazy shit that's happening, the relax and have your brain, just ice scooped by the TV all day, like that shit is so hyperactive, so many sounds and lights and.
But you just
it's
said that
crazy,
kids are
dude.
like balls of energy. Like their
But dude,
entertainment
it's
has to
insane.
match up.
No, it's insane, dude. Like seriously,
What do
you
kids
haven't
watch
watched this
today,
stuff.
though?
You haven't watched this stuff, Amber. I don't think. I'm telling you as a friend. I'm telling you, I don't think that you've just watched the
I
latest
watched
kids
kids
shit.
cartoons.
The latest kids cartoons are insane. I mean, what
do they watch?
This
Like
is
Paw
this is
Patrol,
straight up
or-
ageism. I'm completely making your boomer points. I don't care right now. I'll die on this fucking stone that it's completely different. There are educational like TV, like good TV that's coming out right now. Like Storybots is new and recent, and then there's just really bad TV that's just like the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and shit. Like we had to like stop my kid from watching it because it was just like it was too much, man. It was too much.
Yeah, I think that there might be something to be said for like subpar production or just like producing weird shit.
It
like,
is.
in
It's very weird.
current cinema, or not cinema, but rather like cartoons. Because I know like old versus new SpongeBob. Like there was a fine line in SpongeBob where it went from like the
And you know where that line
Season
where
3,
that line coalesces with? It's when you stopped watching SpongeBob. SpongeBob
Dun, dun,
stops
dun.
being good when you stop watching it. Like
Well, it
that's
wasn't
it's
so
all
much like a-
nostalgia. Like that's all of these arguments are just rose-colored glasses looking back, oh, when I was a kid, cartoons had more substance. No, they fucking didn't. Tom and Jerry had fucking nothing, okay?
I know,
Listen,
but
like,
no
come
episode of
on.
SpongeBob will ever beat Band Geeks.
I'm not. I
True,
love the
and
older
based.
SpongeBob, but
Yeah,
that's
I
because
know.
that was what I watched when I was a kid. That's what was new when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
Well, no. So, like, what I was saying, it's not so much like the SpongeBob these days is not the same. Like, it wasn't like that. It was
I
more
miss
like,
when Tom Kenny was voicing him.
yeah, I miss
He's
when
been
the
voicing
Marine
for 22
Biology-
years,
I know,
dude.
he's a
dude, fucking
machine.
guys, Ringo Starr used to do the fucking voiceover for Thomas the Tank. You didn't know that? You didn't?
Wow.
Ringo Starr, isn't that fucking sick?
I never got into. I don't think. See, I was like a Barney kid growing up.
Okay,
so
yeah,
I
Barney
wasn't
was
Thomas
like
the
my
Tank
sister.
Engine.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
that was the young. Yeah, the Thomas the Tank Man, like the old stuff is so funny. Like our oldest will put like Thomas the Tank Random on, and like the old stuff will come on. He's like, no, I need the new stuff, and it's like, it's a good indication of like things that have changed, man. Where it's like, the old stuff is like there's a narrator and like the trains move along, but now it's like, phew, phew, the trains talk themselves. They're like, what's up, dude? It's
Wait, so
weird.
somebody in my
They've
chat
always
just
talked,
said that
but-
George Carlin used to narrate Thomas the Tank Engine. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yeah, dude, it's
Wow.
crazy. Ringo Starr, George. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Wasn't he in it? I thought he was one of the conductors.
But like
Maybe.
I was saying, like that's just your perception that the newer Thomas the Tank Engine is like crazy ADHD, wild action packed like shit. Like that's just you viewing it as an adult.
He narrated it. I think. I mean, there obviously is that. I can't remove myself and what I know from the equation. You know what I mean? And it's really hard. I understand. I understand what you're talking about, and I actively try to not have that viewpoint on raising children. But
You think it's like maybe like a subconscious like fear that goes through your mind whenever you see like stuff online that seems so so alien, so unfamiliar, and you think about like, what if I don't know like how many kids you have? You said you had like 2,
3.
3. Okay, so I don't know. Do you feel like it might be like a fear that you have that there is some kind of like unenriching aspect to it that it'll like kind of have a negative effect on the positive stuff that you're showing them?
I mean, we make sure, like, if they're gonna watch TV, we make sure that there's like an educational TV show that they watch, and then like a mindless one, to kind of like match that, just so that they're not like
Okay.
completely wasting like that TV time. And like our kids are really into Planet Earth right now, so we're watching like Planet Earth and then going to the zoo and stuff like that. So I mean, as a biologist, like that's one of the reasons why I'm a biologist. I love Planet Earth, so I love that. But yeah, man, there is like a weird aspect. Like I said before, like you really want to make sure that you're not just having your kid live the life that you wish that you lived. That's the worst case scenario in my mind. Because I for what it's worth, man, I like in 7th grade, I put my computer together, my first computer together with spare parts from the garage with my dad, who had a bunch of computers in there, and I made my computer and put it was, I mean, I was on amongst my peers at a very young age. And so I think, and just like Amber was talking about, it's a very enriching experience when you're talking to people that live outside of your lived experience. And I don't want to like rob my kids from that. What if they're like the best programmer in the world and they can, solve all these software engineer problems or something, I don't want to rob them from that.
Here, so this might be a good breaking point, because honestly, I was kind of memeing to Gremlo about this in chat, but we unironically might just want to like dedicate an entire like segment to technology in kids, because this, I think, could actually be some pretty decent content, because we are very impassioned in what we believe on this
Becca
issue.
might even jump in for that.
I don't know. I feel like me and sometimes Gremlo are like the only ones that are not against new age shit. I don't know what to label it. New media, whatever.
Well,
Sometimes
I mean,
Gremlo, mostly me, but
Zoomers scare me, so I kind of just let them do whatever they want.
no, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
People are people.
yeah, but I think like across us, we have a different series of takes that all kind of like gets mixed together. So it might be good to just like dedicate some time to actually hashing it out. And who knows, maybe like Professor Q might have a colleague that like, does some sociology research and technology, brain development, childhood, and like stuff like that. So that might be worth
Childhood
like,
development specialist.
yeah,
That'd
it
be
might be
cool.
worth unironically like reaching out to him and seeing what he thinks. I think at this point, since we've been going for 2 hours, Grumlo, let me ask you: do you think we have enough time to dedicate to the radicalization discussion?
I think we can probably save it for another time, because there's like I had like 45 minutes of video that we could have probably skipped through, but
Oh, okay.
I think we can probably save it. Jesus, for next week. If y'all want to do that, we can do.
Probably
like,
be
and
better
we-
to save it for another week when we didn't just talk about like QAnon and that kind of shit last week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How was
at least
last week's episode, by the way?
It was pretty good. I mean, I think, of course, aptly so, Professor Q really kind of brought a lot of the QAnon content into the frame and sort of gave us more of a like overt idea as to what his research is about and some of the things that he's picked up on. Like, I know we looked at a bunch of like different freaky like Q maps where they like diagram all their thoughts and how all the red string and yarn connects to this and that, and
Yes,
like
the Charlie meme from Sunny.
yeah, literally like fucking Pepe Sylvia, like that kind of thing. We just
can-
sorted that out and talked, I think, a little bit with Buena about sort of the idea of like puzzle solving and how people want to feel like they know things that other people don't, and kind of the tantalizing nature of like getting in on these conspiracies. But
We had
at least from my
videos
perspective,
planned
it was
out and
good.
never got to them.
True, actually, yeah, I think that I
We're,
had like
we're
3
so
or 4
caught up
videos.
talking about it for 3.5 hours, we never got to the videos.
Yeah, I mean that's how good it was.
Maybe Dr. Winowin being along for the ride for the radicalization discussion is better, because they could probably, like I said in the chats, fill in some of the stuff I might not have like the academic background to really like fill in. But also, depending on how this arc of me trying to get in touch with this dude who I'm doing a case study on, apparently, maybe that will bear some fruit over the next week. Who knows?
Yeah, so maybe like we don't have to go into like the full lore per se, but like maybe just give us a little bit of a primer on like what you've been doing behind the scenes with this person and
Yeah.
like what the background is.
So when Read and Rap is not doing cougar memes, he's like in
Mommy
a bunch
milky
of
memes?
So, I can't believe that came up. Jesus, embarrassing. So he hits me up like over the weekend and says, "Hey, I've been following this guy who does like YouTube React content. First time listen to music. I kind of brushed on it lightly in the beginning of the show, but they do like React content that was largely apolitical. Like it had no politics involved with it. The only thing I saw of this guy, because it's a family channel, it's like him, his wife, and his son, who's like a teenager. The only kind of political thing I saw was him and his son were listening to a song about, I think it was Eminem's Stan, was the song they were listening to for the first time. And they kind of talked about systemic racism for a moment together. And I was like, okay, it seems like a pretty general like worldview. And Read and Rap said, I think he's going down a radicalization pipeline. Like he's starting to dip into IDW stuff. So we looked at his catalog on his YouTube page, and up until like 6 weeks ago, it was just React content that had nothing to do with the IDW. And then there was a Joe Rogan video, and then you see that got about 10,000 more views than his average. And then you see the next week, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. Then you see Jordan Peterson, boom, 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 boom. And all of these are averaging much higher views. So there's kind of like an algorithmic motivation behind this. There's a little, there's a calculus that's done. And all of us do this.
Does anyone else wonder, like, if these content creators actually believe the shit they spew? Like, I'm sure it's different for each individual, but, like, I genuinely ask myself that every time I see some chud talking on the internet about, like,
So you're
really
saying they're grifting. They're lying for the views.
Yeah.
So it depends on like what they're doing and what networks they're in, what kind of bubble, the ecosystem that they run in.
Like Alex Jones, for example. Like, I just can't see someone actually thinking the shit he does, but like at the same time I can. But like my logical brain wants to be like, he's just lying. Like, there's no way. But
Alex Jones
like,
is
I
100%
know.
lying. Now,
Really?
as far as his kind of manic attention on like government corruption and deep state actors, that's very real. Like that's incredibly real, because he was super anti-war during the Bush era, and in the 90s he was about like surveillance state stuff. Like that's very Alex Jones, but the kind of evolution that his business model has taken is a supplement company.
Exactly.
That's where the money is.
Oh my God. So true, dude.
Yeah. So in watching this guy, there's a couple thoughts I have in my mind. One of them is that he's just going with the content, whatever the algorithm is feeding him and whatever his audience is responding to, which clearly they are, at least within the views and the interactions, is just going along with that. He did a video showing that, kind of explaining why he's doing what he's doing, which is to give a fair shake to the right, because oftentimes, his words, not mine, people of color just kind of write off the right as incredibly racist. A good instinct to go with, I'll say. So it seems that in his attempt, either knowingly or unknowingly, is exposing his audience of over 300,000 to
Oh, Jesus.
yeah. It's not a small channel. It's not a dude who has like, 10,000 followers. This is a large channel.
What was the channel?
LFR Family.
LFR
name like that.
Family.
Yeah.
This is I think Read and Rap also invited me into his Discord because they were getting on some anti-vax shit.
His Discord is
It's a clusterfuck.
what Read and Rap and I have kind of been in the DMs kind of talking about what we think is going on, and part of it is, I think, is infiltration. Is that people got into his Discord, saw, because if I was at the Daily Wire, if I was at the Blaze, and I saw Black Man, Family Channel, kind of traditional values, nothing like super like reactionary or anything, but kind of just like a family man, sizable audience, consistent viewership, good career, good quality. Yeah. But Greg, you're missing on one quality, and you work in academics, so you're part of the deep state. So, if I was at one of those outlets, I would be scouting him. I would be looking for that person to kind of recommend content in his channels, and
So you can have the token minority person speak
Male
for
Candace
your-
Owens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe we get into the network. He's part of this new content. He's just getting onto Twitch. Every person here has more clout on Twitch and more followers on Twitch than he does because this is new to him. And if everyone here can attest to the kind of vitriol that happens in political Twitch. So if he's not prepared for that, which it apparently he isn't, because his Discord is he has like a political channel where people are doing like great replacement theory, demographics of destiny kind of stuff in the Discord. But if I say that someone has a baby brain, my comments get yeeted. But the great replacement theory stuff doesn't.
Wait, did you actually call someone a baby brain and they deleted your shit?
Yeah, and I got a DM
Wow.
from the mods, who I'm pretty sure is his wife, saying, "Hey, don't insult people. We're here to have a civil conversation. You can just agree to disagree." And I was like, "Do you know what that reference is that he's making? That this is like white genocide, like these are Nazi memes." And they were like, "It doesn't matter. You gotta agree to disagree." And I was like, "Okay, you're not prepared to enter this realm then, because you don't have a way to contextualize what people are doing in your community. You're approaching this from a apolitical stance, which is dangerous to begin with. Like, it's fine to say you don't know when you're trying to learn, but it's a whole other thing to say we give even hand to both sides, because one side has funding." So yeah, I'm trying to have him on to have a talk with him in the most civil way I can about like what exactly he's doing, what his motivations are, you know, if he's not aware of what exactly he's exposing his audience to, and the kind of sentiments and biases that exist within his community are, to kind of contextualize them. I don't want to like talk down to him, but there is a clear path that he's going on, because today he was looking at a Candace Owens interview that she did with he speaks fondly of her, and Thomas Sowell, which is crazy, where she was talking to Russell Brand and was doing like George Soros stuff, saying like George Soros wants to do socialism, and it melts my brain. I was just like, okay, and he had like no comment for that in his reaction video, and I was like, okay, so he doesn't understand what she's saying.
Right, like he's not knowledgeable about dog whistles and a lot of the stuff that lurks beneath the surface. Like, this is the typical like gullible liberal. Like, this is why when fucking Hassan gets up on stream and says when you cut a liberal a fascist bleeds, it's because they fall into these fucking traps very, very often.
And like I was talking to Maudie and Rhizome, two other streamers, about this, how it does seem that there is a clear line between conservative traditional ideology and how they kind of dog whistle the subtle things that appeal to the threat of privilege that people have. Smite Knight and I had a interesting conversation about like neo-Confederacy and kind of the remnants of the Old South, how threats to privilege, the like marginal little gains that people made in the times of slavery, white people mainly,
that I'm making is
how
that,
they were
that I was going to-
propagandized into thinking that, well, if the slaves got free, then that's a threat to your status. And that kind of class antagonism plays a role in this radicalization, where if this is a person of color who's been able to kind of, through merit, and I'll say it, I think meritocracy is one of the things we're going to touch on in our discussion, through his own merit, has been able to accumulate some type of foothold on privilege, foothold on economic security. And it's entirely possible that because of that survivor's bias, that culture war stuff is kind of threatening to that little like meager gains that he's been able to make. So that might be why it's appealing.
Greg, I didn't. Did you like start a Ben Shapiro video or something?
I did actually.
Oh my
yeah.
god, I was so
like,
confused.
what the
I was like,
fuck?
is my browser open? Like, I don't think I had Ben Shapiro
I
pulled up. What
accidentally
the fuck?
oh my god, that's so funny. I was like,
I heard it, but he's always in my mind, so I just kind of like ran with it.
I was like, did someone change an alert sound on my channel? Like, the fuck?
sorry. I'm sorry.
I would never.
Hey, that's how easy it is to fall down the pipeline. You're just existing on Twitch, and next thing you know,
loading it
Ben
up,
Shapiro's
dude.
in your ear.
I got like 6 hours of hate watching to do now, so that
Oh,
Ben Shapiro's
God.
on there too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just kind of like what I've been like a recurring thing over the last couple days in my streams is kind of checking in, seeing what's going on with that, and trying to get in touch with this guy because look, if that's the road he's going down, it can be very profitable, but very, very dangerous.
Well, I think that he's like small enough for you to actually take up like your offer on like content kind of basis and stuff, you know? So, I mean,
He got offended that I accused him of radicalizing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
So you would really have to like handle him with kid gloves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that
that's-
is like a kind of evocative word. Is that a word? Provocative word?
Yeah, I mean, it has like a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, you're marching through the streets with a swastika, or you're trying to do communism. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Which
what
is
people
strange
hear when
because
they hear
it's
radicalizing.
Yeah, it's not just that you are radicalizing your audience. You're being radicalized and you don't know it, which is why
Yeah.
it's so insidious.
Exactly, because you, as the content creator, then pass all that shit on to your audience. Like, you are the one that comes first, and if you can stop the person at the top of the food chain, so to speak, from being radicalized, then we can stop the pipeline from continuing to radicalize even more people. But like,
Yeah.
wild. Sorry, go ahead.
So in kind of like this attempts to reach out to him, I kind of compiled a list of good, not hardline leftist. Like I'm not sending him Vosh, you know.
Oh,
or,
Jesus.
Like
God
crazy
damn it,
leftist
Gremlo.
people.
If the
I'm not looking at
second
that.
if the
But I
second
like-
bullet point isn't 3 hours on dialectical materialism, then you're out. Okay, you're not
That
allowed.
was the thing. I was like, I want to, if I'm going to, in good faith, engage with him and say, like, here are some resources that, like, could probably contextualize. And if you want to have an even-handed approach, you can also feature this in your content because these are people who, like,
Yeah.
are reputable that you could have.
Exactly.
So I asked my chat, like, who were some of the people that started to pull you, like, into more leftist thought that weren't, like, hard line? We need to, like, do luxury gay space communism now. Like, who are some of the people that got you? And I guess I'll extend that to you three as well. Like, if there's anybody who's kind of gotten you to, like, look at things in a broader, more materialist sense, I guess I would say, who are they?
Yeah, I would agree with Natty in my chat who said good old Uncle Sam at Majority Report. Simply
Yeah.
because it's very like dry news, like very like Democracy Now type. I mean, you could almost
Amy
throw Amy
Goodman, my
Goodman into
queen.
the mix. Yeah, base queen Amy Goodman. Yeah, I think those two are the first ones that come into mind simply because it's more just like, here's facts. And then here's probably what these facts mean. It's not like, Hassan where he's got fucking, Soviet iconography in the background and he's threatening to fuck everybody's moms
I'm
every other
saying
second.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you, Greg, Amber, have any thoughts on that? Of like, if there's somebody I can recommend to them other than you two, who would I recommend?
I mean, it matters. I mean, I think that the larger like left like really does a disservice in not really engaging with the people, like debating people and stuff. Like I think that this is like the real part where like someone talking about ideas, like conservative ideas or ideas that they might hold, and actually engaging with them is good. And I'm happy that. I think that you're right in your approach in that you're saying that, like, if you're going to react to this content, well, then why don't you react to this content too? It's like twice as much content, you know what I mean? And giving people that are actually giving critical thoughts, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll add too, like, steer them away from debate bro shit as much as
Yeah.
possible.
The only thing I had in my list that was a debate was Slavoj Žižek versus Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah, where Jordan
my
Peterson had to like fucking Google
Oh
what
my God.
communism was.
Fuck
Where
Jordan
are the
Peterson.
Marxists?
Fuck Jordan Peterson. I honestly, I don't think I really followed a pipeline for leftism. Like, I'm so, like, empathetic that I was already kind of almost there. And then I found Hassan through, my husband watched Hassan, and then I started watching him. Now my husband doesn't watch Hassan, but I still do. But and then it was like, oh, there's a name for all of this. Like, and I kind of, I don't know. I just kind of went straight there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's one thing I'm going to talk to him about is like radicalization or
Just being a
kind of
good
very-
person, not wanting to hurt people, made me a leftist.
Yeah, exactly. Because in one of the videos I watched of him, he was looking at there's the famous Jordan Peterson video that every like asshole like misogynist sees and is like, yeah, that's why women be shopping. He's debating some British lady who's wearing like a purple dress. I can never remember like the,
Oh, I know exactly what.
you know
as soon as you
exactly
said
the
purple
one.
dress.
You know
Yeah.
the one. He was looking at that, and Jordan was doing his normal like women, they're the dragon of chaos, and they want us to like stop men from succeeding, and
Damn straight.
Based.
Yeah.
We're taking over.
yeah. I know,
Fuck
one day,
all y'all.
inshallah. But he just kind of like nodded along at all of these like subtle, like very misogynistic, but because it's done from a position of authority, it's not questioned. Instead of having the context to be able to say like, well, why does Jordan Peterson say that? If anybody in chat or the three of you want a very good breakdown of like the psychopathy of Jordan Peterson, Behind the Bastards has a 2-part podcast episode on Jordan Peterson, like just a full like dossier from childhood to
Damn.
yeah, it's
mean,
incredible
Dude,
and
we should
very
do that here.
enlightening.
Honestly, we should read Jordan Peterson.
Behind the chuds.
Like no joke. Like read his papers. Like my disagreements with Jordan Peterson are like, I mean, his academic work is just so sloppy. It literally goes from like the hierarchy,
What's his field?
Clinical psychology.
Yeah, and he gives this weird evolutionary bent on it where he thinks that like the serotonin levels in humans are okay with like lobsters, and because lobsters are really well studied, and the hierarchy of religion, ergo since there's a hierarchy in lobsters, there's a natural hierarchy in men, and that's why religion is validated and all that kind of stuff. And he makes
kind of like evolutionary biological essentialism.
exactly. It's really weird, and I would honestly love to like actually read like Jordan Peterson papers and we can go through it, because it's like I feel like this is such a good example of like you can read about or watch about Jordan Peterson, but then you can also read what he also says, and what he's saying is just insane too.
Yeah.
It's not even
He's got a history of like so it's entirely possible his family had an article with a interview with his daughter removed because his daughter Michaela said that he does have like manic schizophrenia. So it's entirely possible that much of this is just like manic episodes after manic episodes, which is really sad because he's being taken advantage of by a system that prioritizes his type of content, that is his episodes.
Especially with Beef Daughter fucking hooking him up with Xanax.
Lion Club, dude. Benzos. So one of the things that frustrates me the most about Jordan Peterson is that he doesn't know how to construct a sentence, especially as a lecturer, as a rhetorician. He knows how to draw you in, but he only does descriptive statements and doesn't give any kind of prescriptive argument after he does the descriptive statement. That's how logical follow-through is done.
yeah.
So he just relies on people's preconceived biases because all he's doing is giving descriptive statements. Women and men have trouble working together in the workplace. Okay, well, what does that mean? I don't know.
That's a good Kermit.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it means that women can't wear makeup and stuff apparently.
Right. Well, women wear makeup to stimulate sexual arousal. What does that
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Well,
why. It's
maybe
not the zits.
Western-
It's
Yeah. Like maybe Western beauty standards. Maybe women don't want dudes saying like, "Hey, you look like shit. Are you sick? What's wrong with you? Are you tired?" Yeah.
oh,
Are you tired?
sorry.
Amber, you're so
I just
tired
got
today.
triggered.
You're so
I'm
tired
wearing makeup.
today.
Fuck you. But like
See?
every
Like,
other
so
day
tired.
of the week, I don't. It's just when I stream. But
Yeah.
for real. The amount of times I've heard you look tired today after I've been wearing makeup for months and then not worn it one day. Oh, fuck that shit.
Yeah, God
you should
forbid.
smile more. Fuck you.
Yeah, that kind of shit too.
Jesus, that's
But
awful.
yeah, he doesn't do any kind of follow through. But because of the descriptive statements on like real things that happen, like women and men do have like there are issues between like gender equality in workplaces. It's not because of makeup. It's not because of shoulder pads in men's like blazers. That's not why. But he's not giving them. So the biases that have accrued within his audience are just what the prescriptive statements are. He doesn't have to say what they are. It's very nefarious. It's clever, but I think he's too stupid to realize that that's what he's doing.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent approximation of what he's up to.
Yeah.
I think you could probably add on to like everything we've kind of already talked about with like the algorithmic component. It very much was almost like a second wave of the, Ben Shapiro epically owns SJW libtard in a debate, brackets gone conservative or something, like Jordan Peterson rode that wave of just dumb pandering content to ascend to his degree of infamy. And
I will
really
be right
like,
back.
yeah, go ahead. Like, I think like the higher meta order question when it comes to this content creator is like, how if you get him to like sit down and chat with you, like there's so many components of this that need addressing, like at the very least for the anti-vax component, because that's like immediately physically harmful to people in his community. That's a
Oh my god,
that's a
good.
fucking awesome shirt.
Oh my god, I love that.
If you have a link to that, you should DM it to me.
Yeah.
I want that shirt.
Yeah. It's from a clothing company that I really like. It's Wicked Clothes. They have like really satanic, like hilarious fucking clothes.
I love that.
You
I
had
really
me
want
at
to get
satanic.
I know I did. That's why I said it.
There's an Etsy page called Coomer Club. That's Hassan's Coomer beanie is what they're from, but they have they have one beanie that it just has a rainbow on it. It says everything sucks, and I really want that one.
They have clothes super similar to that. Like I have one that's like got a star on it that says I tried, and it's got like a rainbow coming out of it.
That's cute.
So when I have like a lazy day, I wear that sweatshirt.
Yeah. But yeah, this radicalization thing is a sumbitch. It's wild watching it happen in real time.
That's nuts,
too.
man.
Yeah, so I guess Groma, oh sorry, Greg, did I cut you off or you're gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe we could do Paul Cottrell on the same episode, so then we could just have the slap lawsuits just be one convenient YouTube link, and that'd be really nice. So we could
All in one place.
yeah, just put it all together. Our lawyers would be really happy about
for
that.
context, Greg wants to at some point either, I don't know if it would be Ministry of Science or just like on our respective streams on the day, but like bring in a science chud, a live, out and about, like algorithmically boosted science chud, just to like pick his brain.
Yeah, this is the creme de la creme. The real, if you're like an anti-vax person, but you want like, okay, so all the scientists are like in on it, and that's a global conspiracy, but like who's doing the actual science? Because we know that the scientists aren't doing it. So in their mind,
Yeah,
who
of
watches
course.
The Watchmen.
so it's Paul. Exactly, it's Paul Cottrell. It's this guy that's like really. Man, I don't even want to. I can't even give you a trailer because I can't even put sentences together right now that would distill this guy's down. It's he is a piece of work, man. You always get Paul Cottrell links, like these 4-hour videos of him at a whiteboard, like just stringing together 9/11 to SARS-CoV-2, and yeah, those two events are related. You didn't think that? You didn't think that?
Well, like that's the thing, right? Like people in this larger like React channel community, because of the algorithm and because like the central hub where they go for content is falling down this pipeline, might send people to the likes of Paul Cottrell. Like that's how important it is to try and like put a stop to this, if at all possible. Gremlo, what I was going to kind of, I guess, maybe add to it, if he actually does like agree to talk to you, like especially if like the anti-vax stuff like overtly going on in his Discord, like I don't want to like do this for clout or anything, but I almost feel like compelled to be there just because you can be like, hey, look, like I have a literal scientist like right here. If I can bring Greg in, like we could
do it.
We could literally do.
I want Ministry of Science.
Well, so this is like an egg, right? And
Yeah, it's too fragile.
Inside
Yeah.
there is a chud, and we have to protect this egg because if we nurture it correctly, it can become a beautiful like lefty dragon. So I would say if it does happen, which the likelihood of it happening is low, I would direct him to your content for sure. I don't think
Got it. So like not
gangbusters
live
kind of
but-
situation is
right? Because that would
necessary.
feel more like an ambush, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that makes good
Very
sense.
cute. I love it.
It's I think like the anti-vaxxer communities that I'm in and stuff, like yeah, I mean, I think it's like you have to develop like a relationship before you can have contentious discussions like that. on air,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. It's not like that's not a duality, and I agree with transparency like completely. So like I would stream all of the conversations, but at the same time, it's like you don't want these people to think that they're being
Milked.
pulled out. Yeah, like
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's not the point. That's not the point. Their views, like we're not necessarily even talking about their views or them personally. We're talking about like in general, like understanding why someone would fall down this road and better understanding that, because I can't understand it myself. I don't get it.
Well, next week I'll show you. Michael Brooks had a lecture he did on the IDW while he was writing his book. Also, if you want a good book on it, Michael Brooks did the IDW, something, the Intellectual Dark Web. Very, very good book. I have it in my other room. But yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that lecture because he kind of explains how the arguments that are being made right now are going to be the centrist arguments that are being made in 8 years. In 2 election cycles, they will be considered like centrist arguments. So learning how to combat them now and push back against them effectively within the marketplace of ideas is going to be like a good tool in our belt.
Well, America's like constantly shifting to the right. Like it has been for a very long time. And it's constantly doing that. And trying to explain that to an American when you say you're a leftist and they're like, oh, so liberal. And I'm like, no, it's worse. It's worse than you could ever imagine. No, but like, yeah, like if you look at a political spectrum of America versus the rest of the world, we're
Way to the left. Is that what you're saying?
I wish.
That's how you're coming. I'm just trying to read the direction of your hand. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, I think I have an anti-vaxxer in my DMs right now.
Oh.
Don't give them to me. I want them right now.
Okay, so
Let's have
here's
them on
what
right
they-
now. Have them on right
Here's
now.
what they sent me.
Give them the Discord invite.
No, we're not. No free clout. So here's what he sent me. I
Got a live
shared
one.
with the chat a Cleveland Clinic paper. The mod clapped me, quote unquote, as he said. Nice, Mitch. Because the sentence included COVID-19. Here's a reference. You want the link?
Oh yeah, give me the link. Let's
Okay,
eat
I'll
this
send the
up.
link to you. I'll send you the linky. Anyway, yeah.
Amazing.
I was in Marcus's stream on Tuesday, and I had like a little bit of an existential crisis after like 3
you?
anti-vaxxers,
It was
anti-sciencers
4
were in chat at the
simultaneously.
same time, and I was like, I just get kind of depressed sometimes when people just like doubt the fuck out of my love of life. Science.
Dude, I mean, for
love
real,
science,
as a
but-
scientist, though, like the idea that like vaccines are such like vaccines. like,
Yes.
it's probably like for real, vaccines are probably one of the only, very few like universal good things that have ever happened out of science. Like clean drinking water, vaccines. Like it's on that level.
Yeah.
I just think
Exactly.
it blows my mind. Like cell theory, germ theory. Like it's very rare. Oh,
Yeah, so Gremlo, I think what we've talked about, I think just one-on-one on stream before about like staring into the abyss for too long. I think that is like kind of applicable to where Amber was at on Tuesday. Like, I think I've done enough abyss staring to where it's like, oh yeah, I can have 2 hands worth of anti-vaxxers in my chat. It's fine. Like I can multitask.
I mean, I did it.
Go ahead.
I did it during the peak of COVID. Like there were a lot of people like on my social media, like from family and stuff that were having a really hard time, like, understanding why the vaccine came out so fast or why masks work. So I would like explain it in a easy to digest way, but like 2 years of that plus like having that many bringing up such like, as a scientist, the points that they bring up are just like so like you can't even argue with it or like give them evidence for it because there's no logic in it innately.
Yeah, what I've learned is that there's an old saying is like the problem with arguing with stupid people is you have to go down to their intellectual level.
I wouldn't even call them stupid. Like I would just call them like misguided or like.
Well, most of their arguments are based off of emotional appeals, and that's like
Exactly,
where you have
yeah.
to like hit them back. It's like,
You have
okay,
to
well,
meet them there,
your fear
but-
is that this is going to somehow cause us to become like China and have like a state state capitalist thing or communist thing where everybody's controlled and monitored. Well, the fear you have can be mitigated by responsible actions now. So
Right.
instead of like further making it a bigger problem, you can be the responsible patriot who, loves their country and their community, and you can, do this small gesture.
It's just like reactionary, and you can't
Yeah.
you can't quell their initial reaction, and they're not going to drop that initial reaction. So it's hard to like get them out of it because they had that reaction and they're sticking to it, and there's not really like anything you can do about it.
It reminds me of, we watched a Vice piece today on Australian coal miners in this town called like Corinville in like Queensland. And this town of miners, it's like 8 generations of miners who have lived in these small towns. But there's a strong push from activists in the area, indigenous activists, environmental activists, to shut these coal fire plants down and move to renewable energy. And this guy who is a environmental activist went to go interview these people and see like what is the sentiment that you feel as a miner in this town. And with relative consistency, there's always the chud, Dogans, but with relative consistency, all of them said, if we were offered union paid, like secure jobs with benefits in renewable energy in this area, we would take it.
Yeah.
But we're not being offered that. The problem is they are being offered that by the greenies, they'll call them, the Green Party in Australia. They are being offered that. But because of how manufactured consent and media works, their characterization of these people in like Sky News and like Murdoch-owned media characterizes them as insane leftists who don't want you to eat hamburgers anymore, and they want to, turn your kid into homosexual trans Marxists, like that kind of same thing.
Yeah.
So hell yeah, like inshallah, please one day. So it's how we are manufacturing people's like idea of what these arguments are. We want on the left in the Green New Deal people to have secure union paid jobs that offer retraining and a stipend if you want to retrain yourself in between the jobs. Take 6 months to train. Now you're you went from a pipe fitter at a petrochemical plant, and now you're a technician for solar panels. Like, we want people to have that. That's part of the plan, babies. But because the characterizations that people have, the perceptions people have of the people who are arguing for that, they think it's untenable pipe dream utopian stuff when it's very achievable goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was just very interesting because even one guy, the last person they interviewed in the documentary, ended up during one of the protests of this coal fire plant, got on a horse and ran through the protesters and like trampled over a bunch of people. They interviewed him and he was like, I would work in green energy. I would work in it tomorrow. But as of right now, them protesting my livelihood is a threat to my family. So
And that's the reactionary kind of thing I was talking about. Was
Exactly.
they're just reacting. They're not like, but when
Yeah.
you talk to them on a one-on-one level,
Yeah.
they're like, I have a friend who identifies as conservative, if you can use that phrasing, but he like calls himself conservative. And I was like, oh, okay, like let me just get some quick answers to these, because I had never asked him anything like political or human rights related before. So I figured I would. It's like, how do you feel about abortion, trans rights? And everything he was saying was like the liberal take.
Mhm.
And I was just stunned. I was like, why do you call yourself a conservative? Like, the conservatives I know of are like, not like that. So,
Right.
but it's the reaction, the like group belonging kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that enters the lack of class consciousness to be able to see yourself as having the same general interests as the people who we view as our ideological opposition.
I mean, I would argue that I agree. Like, if you think about it under the class label, there really isn't exactly what you're talking about. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, as a scientist, I don't care what their ideology is. If they're producing solar panels and if they want to do it, then I'm fine. It's whatever it is. So
It's like people with vaccines. Like, if you if you probably sit down and maybe this kind of like perceptions that we on the left have of conservatives also is like the same kind of thing that they have for us, where we kind of view them all as like screaming like American flag, don't step on snack waving, chuds. When reality is, most people are just working class Andes who, when it comes times to vote, then, because of the media they consume are, they have negative perceptions of, albeit good legislation, but, what
Or
they're
they're
seeing
single
is
issue
dangerous.
voters, and
Second
I've heard
Amendment
a
Andes.
lot of single issue voters with abortions. Like they think that the Democrats are going to make it so you can abort at 9 months or whatever,
Yeah, ridiculous.
which isn't true. But they're single issue voters, and they've been convinced of this single issue being bad on the other side, so they just stick to it. And yeah,
And
Grandma,
that's the
doesn't-
beauty of propaganda.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say, Grandma. Like, doesn't it seem like everyone has in their mind like the Russian bot propaganda view of what the other person is? It seems like that's the way, and people like get really revved up on like these false people that don't really exist, and then they meet someone in real life, and they're like, oh, well, it's not like that at all.
Yeah, and
My-
it becomes all the more difficult to interact with them because you
my
don't
best
know.
friend's a gun-toting like conservative, like, but we're friends because we have very similar like ways we interact and humor and stuff like that. But we're still best friends. Like we met at work, and I didn't think I was gonna like her, and then we kept talking, and then I liked her. Like I know that there are people out there who would not ever be friends, and we like give each other shit for our political views all the time. Like that's half the fun, is like us just the back and forth fuckery about it. But like I don't know.
Amber,
I'm too
Have you gone shooting with her? Have you shot
absolutely
with
not. I will not get within 10 feet of a gun.
her? Try it out. It's fun.
We-
Shooting guns
no.
is really fun.
Listen, we went to my grandfather-in-law's funeral. He was in the military. They shot 10 guns. I had a fucking panic attack and went and like bawled in the car. Like that was the first time I had ever heard a gun in real life, and I lost it. Like I watched those Snapchat videos from the Parkland High School shooting where they had like people on the floor in blood and like gunshots, and I can't do it. Like I cannot get near a gun. Like it's not even like a political thing at this point. It's just like I have secondhand PTSD.
Jesus.
Yeah. And my
The gun
dad,
is-
of course, converted my walk-in closet upstairs to a gun closet, so
Oh, good.
Well, it's not as bad as I guess the but if it sounds like you have some firsthand experience, so I mean I can't speak to that. So,
well, not like firsthand, but like I didn't think a video would fuck me up that much, and I had nightmares for like months. Like I had to go to therapy to be able to go out in public spaces.
Oh, wow.
Like I had agoraphobia. Going to class, I had to like go to the bathroom and like sit in a stall to feel safe sometimes because I was so fucking terrified.
Jesus.
Like it was so bad. And people don't really think about that. So when I say I don't like guns, they're like, "Ah, you fucking liberal, like fucking gun hating, freedom hating." And I'm like, "No, I literally like I can't do it."
do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean,
do,
go ahead, go ahead.
do you think like going on to your like going onto the internet at a very young age? I mean, do you think that like kids and stuff like showing those videos, like do you think that there should be an age limit on like when they're able to view that stuff?
So those videos were promptly taken down, but because I had heard about the shooting, I was on Facebook like constantly like reading news because I was nervous and I needed to know more to not feel so nervous. And then the video popped up and I knew I shouldn't have watched it, and I did, and it was fucking stupid, and now I'm stuck with this tiny little brain rot in the back of my brain. But yeah, like it's not the internet's fault that I watched something that I knew I probably shouldn't have and just stayed on the video anyway because I wanted to know more to feel better and ended up fucking myself over. So
I had the same thing where I had like a video where I was downloading videos from Kazaa trying to pirate something, and like it was it was not what it said it was in the title, and it was like a murder of someone. It was awful, and it was I saw it as a kid, and it like really stuck with me too.
did you guys have to watch the movie Red Asphalt for your driver's ed class?
I didn't know.
I think I know
That
what you
shit
mean.
fucked me up.
Oh, For us, it was worse. We had a lady who was in a like really bad automobile accident, like come to our school in our gym and like talk to the senior class. And
That's gnarly.
she was like a double amputee. I think from her like elbow down, she had amputated in like from the knee down or like mid thigh down. And yeah, that was more visceral just because there's now like a human attachment to it. And she had like photos from the accident and like of her like on the gurney and the ambulance. I don't know why someone was taking a picture. It was very weird. I always think about that.
Red Asphalt was like a documentary about people that got into car accidents, and they would show the fucking bodies
Yeah.
in the cars. Like, I had never seen a dead body before driver's ed. And that just, I have way too much empathy for this world. Like, I just,
I think that's going to be something that I bring up in my conversation with this guy Van from LFR Family about how like notice how a lot of these conversations you're watching from these political commentators on the right, how it's all hyper individualist, put the onus on the individual.
I have said since the beginning, the difference between the two poles of the political spectrum is just empathy. That's all it is. That's literally it.
It's not a bad.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's something I'll have to talk to him. Michael Brooks had a good mantra. It was be kind to people and be ruthless with institutions.
I agree. I mean, make them better, man.
Yeah, because the actors within it, though there are those who understand what the system is and use it in their favor, most people are just acting in accordance with the system they were brought up in.
Yeah.
They don't have any kind of like moral logic behind the things that they do.
They were raised that way. Or they went down a
environment.
pipeline and ended up there. Like that's I was just telling someone in my chat, like, I know it's frustrating to listen to these people spout like stuff that goes against other people's rights and just the most heinous shit, but at the same time you got to realize they're humans and they came from an innately good place and ended up in this fucked up, twisted space. Like,
yeah.
So continuing this from like our last week's like point though, like should people so are people like canceling people and deplatforming people? Is there a point where people like come back? Like how do people come back from that stage if they're being exploited and they're saying things that they're misinformed about, not because of their free will?
Just because I need to acknowledge that they're humans and have empathy for them does not mean I think they should have a platform to spout their heinous shit from.
Yeah. So I always take the approach that deplatforming works. There's a reason that Milo Yiannopoulos is no longer relevant. Stefan Molyneux is kind of faded into obscurity. That was done through a intentional and long-standing. It didn't happen like in a month. It took years to get these people deplatformed, and now they're begging for money. Milo Yiannopoulos is doing like a Christian QVC thing where he's like selling your grandma jewelry on Christian networks.
Jesus.
Very weird. Kind of funny too. He's also converted. So yeah,
He's straight now,
there is a
right?
value to it. What's that?
He's straight. Apparently.
Yeah, he's saved. He's born again.
Yeah.
Still a hair icon though. So
Yeah.
not entirely. Yeah, I mean, there is a value to it. I think, again, empathy is like the approach we have to come at it with, and
Agreed.
they are approaching these things from an emotional thing. One of the things that, because I kind of came out of the skeptic community, like early in like the 2010s, that's kind of like where my online kind of political content started. And the thing that broke my brain out of that was, unironically, materialism. Someone explained to me that the only difference between someone who's like a radical fundamentalist in ISIS and someone who's, picketing outside of an abortion clinic with Westboro Baptist Church is a few layers of poverty. You remove cell phones, you remove clean water, you remove access to education and television, and you start blowing up their streets and their infrastructure, they're going to start strapping bombs to themselves. Because that material condition is the thing that is making them radicalized. They understand that something is wrong, but what is contextualizing it is completely devoid of any kind of like real world material analysis.
It's the same thing with, I mean, not the same thing, but it's similar with like the right wing here. Like they know something's wrong with society, but they're just attributing that wrongness to what they've been raised to attribute it to. And I mean, it's not their fault. Like that's hard for people like us who are constantly like fighting the chuds, fighting the anti-scientists, like that kind of shit. But like, it's super important to just remember that it's not their fault. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's a tangible difference between like acknowledging that society has failed people by applying multiple stacks of poverty as like a debuff to life. Sorry to get like MMO heavy here with my communication, but like literally that's kind of how it goes. Like, yeah, we can acknowledge that people are unfairly victimized by unfair material conditions, but at the same time, like that victimization puts them in a headspace where it's really hard for them to actually see why they're in that space in the first place and want to get out of it. And depending on how far down they go, sometimes you can't necessarily pull them out. Like you do what you can, but it's not, guaranteed to be successful every time you talk to them. And I think Gremlo, like you said it earlier in relation to this React channel, right? A lot of it comes down to just like teaching empathy. Like, hey, maybe if you realize the brown people you blame for not having a good paying job are also suffering from the same things as you are. Like they're in the same positions. They want the same things as you. They're human, just like you. Like it's really difficult to teach empathy. Like it's beyond all of our pay grades. Like it's really, really difficult to even conceptualize like a fundamental emotion and then communicate it and have it like be a thing in somebody else's heart and mind permanently.
And when we have with the whole group, because we've kind of like done an hour-long discussion on it now, so I guess we'll kind of go into like a more in-depth look at like what radicalization is, how it's done. One of the I don't know if it's ideology or like a kind of analysis that these people use, and most of them I don't think are aware of it. It's called praxeology. It's from the Austrian School of Economics, and it is a rejection of empiricism. It's strictly based on like Randian objectivism, that the world is the way I believe it is, and empiricism can't change that. It's a completely like anti-science. It's antithetical to any kind, even like within econ, which already is heavily slanted towards one type of like system. It's very, very brain broken, and that kind of the world is the way I see it. Don't believe your lying eyes. Is so dangerous within these spaces, because all you have to do is have a pre-existing bias, and because of that framework, it's already legitimized. If we're going into like the worst aspects of these ideologies, people of color have a higher higher representation in criminality because fill in the blank. Whatever your biases are, that's why.
Yeah.
Is it fatherlessness in the homes? Is it, if you're really like, Stefan Molly meme type racist, then it's, skull size, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I asking questions with that very like leading open-ended answer, like it's the biggest opportunity for people to self-report. Like you just ask them like, okay, like what do you believe? And they'll fucking go off. Like one of my favorite sayings is believe people when they tell you who they are. Like, just give them a chance, and they'll be off to the races.
There is a kind of caution I would give to people using the Sam Cedar does this whenever he has like libertarians on his show. He just gives them enough rope to hang themselves with, is the expression. There is like caution that needs to be done with that, because then it's just you letting people talk, unless you have like the correct like context and how to lead them back into the noose, figuratively speaking, Twitch, then you're just giving them a platform. You're not actually like showing how these things are a fallacy. So yeah, it should be a pretty good introduction to the IDW pipeline when we have that discussion.
Just for reference, the praxeology intro on Wikipedia is, in philosophy, praxeology is the theory of human action based on the notion that humans engage in purposeful behavior as opposed to reflexive behavior and other unintentional behavior.
Which goes against the entire body of sociology.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's people are rational actors. We do things for rational reasons, which not true at all.
Yeah, agreed. Not true.
Eldar Shafir did a case study on farmers in India before the harvest and after the harvest. Before the harvest, when they were very poor, and after the harvest, when they were relatively not as poor. And they measured IQ tests. I know IQ, but it is like a methodology within these kinds of studies. And the difference between pre-harvest and post-harvest was an average of 14 points in your IQ, which is like driving drunk. It's like losing a night's sleep or like not eating that day. So poverty and scarcity does have an actual effect on your reason, your ability to make like good decisions. So one of the things that Rutger Bregman, author of Utopia for Realists, a very good book on UBI, said in a TED Talk was, it's not a question of why are the poor making poor decisions. It's that they're existing within a context where anyone would make a poor decision. They're always in that situation. They're always deprived. Scarcity is very real for them, and it's not for people who don't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this like rational actors thing is just, it's bunk.
I think a lot of scientists almost fall into that trap too, right? Like we're bred in this, academy of rationality and inductive logic and being a fucking giant nerd. But then you kind of really like step into the real world and you realize like, shit, even people around me are not acting rationally. I mean, hell, I was bitching in Discord yesterday because our university went masks optional, not fully off, but basically said
Jesus
optional.
Christ.
Seems good.
So in my laboratory, I have one colleague, like in my cohort, who just gave birth to a beautiful baby daughter, but of course she's way too young to get vaccinated, and she's refusing to put her mask back on. And then another dude who's foreign, not foreign. He's not like a foreign exchange student. He immigrated here from Jordan, like the Middle Eastern country of Jordan. But he was born with a bunch of like congenital heart issues. And he's already had one heart attack before age 30. And he's like, fuck it. If I die, I die. I don't care. I'm not wearing a mask again. Like, whatever, YOLO. But it's like, you guys you're almost at PhDs. Like, you of all people should know better. But here we are watching the most rational people act irrationally.
Why do people find masks such an obtrusion? Like, they don't... I forget I'm wearing mine most of the time. Like, I don't know, maybe I just dissociate.
There's probably some like symbology almost associated. Not like
it's absolutely symbolism. Absolutely.
Yeah, like not necessarily for like, in like a cultural like witch doctor sense symbology, but more like it's representative of the past 2+ years that we've had to live through this bullshit. And the more we lean into like, hey, it's finally getting to a conclusion. Like, we're taking our masks off. Nature is healing. We're all getting back to normal. Like, taking off your mask is sort of that, like, stepping through the threshold type moment. And I think that's where a lot of the more, like, sane people are at because they're just fatigued. So they view taking off the mask as like, okay, finally, I'm done. Like, I can let down my guard. And this is why I think the next surge is going to fuck a lot of people up.
In the first conversation that I actually had with you, Marcus, I told you that, like, when COVID started, I had this hope that we would finally have this thing that is now like within common like American culture of
Neil deGrasse Tyson said this on his podcast, and it perfectly summarized everything I had thought the last 2 years of COVID.
Yeah, it's just like, well, now we will look at universal health care as like a necessity for like a national security thing if you're one of those people. But also, yes, that within like East Asian cultures, wearing a mask when you're like have the sniffles or like you're have the flu, that's commonplace because you're in proximity to other people and you don't want to get them sick. So it's just a courtesy, even if it's not 100% effective. It's showing that you are trying to look out for other people and yourself. And I was hoping that was going to be the case, but the kind of rugged individualism and American exceptionalism, things don't go wrong here, blah 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 blah. um, like that just took over, and the right wing media sphere like took that and just ran with it.
Yeah, and it's been effective. Like that's the worst part. Like even in allegedly, leftist communist academia, like their fucking narratives are the same shit. Like people were sick and tired. Yeah.
Was the anti-mask fervor super like heavy in the beginning? I mean, time is a flat circle. I feel like I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast this morning. Was it like that in the beginning?
Hold up, wait.
Go ahead, Amber.
Okay, Gremlo. Where I thought you were going with that was Neil deGrasse Tyson on his podcast said like, really fucking depressed. It hurt my heart because I've been thinking this, and like to see him like depressed and say something, he's never depressed. Anyway, he's like, I really thought COVID was going to be the thing that we could like rally behind and do for the good of humanity. I really had higher hopes for us. And here we are, 2 years later, still polarized, and no one's listening to scientists who have done the research and know what they're fucking talking about. We couldn't fucking unite behind this thing that's agreed upon by almost all of science, like all scientists. Like,
yeah,
fuck. How are we supposed to do anything?
Yeah, that's the sentiment I was getting at. And here's where my auth-red side comes out, and I say this on stream sometimes. It's that this is nice. We want this, but sometimes this is what's needed when it comes to public health.
I think entirely the opposite, where it's like I'm actually really shocked at how quickly things changed. Because before COVID, like you would hear people saying that there's no way people would ever change their habits. There's no way that people would do everyday activities any differently because of climate change or the environmental collapse or whatever like that. And man, it's felt just like overnight where like everything has changed. Like society is like, on like a fritz in the last 2 years. So I guess
still remember the image of the Empire State Building flashing red, and it was like foggy at night. I still remember like that image very clearly in my head.
Interesting. Yeah,
of, like
man.
the panic.
It feels like things have changed pretty dramatically in the fact that every day, I guess data shows us that like through GPS and phones that the working class and the poor like they didn't change that at all. Pretty much they're still going to work, and it's like your ability to be up the ladder where, I have friends that it's like, oh, work from home for a month. He spent 2 weeks in Yosemite and then another 2 weeks in Hawaii. Yeah. So it's like, okay, bud, so
I don't get super doom pilled on the COVID stuff, like Marcus's clip of, oh god, everyone's getting sick and dying. Oh fuck. I get like
nobody can watch that shit.
Right. But I get like this for climate change because when I'm in the Gulf South.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. If we can't unite for just a virus, like how the fuck are we going to do anything about the earth boiling?
Yeah. Because I see the effects of climate change every like July to November is hurricane season, and every year there's like that moment that goes through your head. It's like, is this when my house floats off? And then when the next one comes that same season, is this it? Is this the moment wherever I'm like an environmental refugee? Like that's like just the existence. And I get very black-pilled sometimes, and I don't mean to do this to chat or you guys right now, but there is going to come a point, I think, where a conversation needs to be had about whether or not we do like a mass relocation program of people living in the Gulf South. It's no longer sustainable for us to, dump money into infrastructure and making sure that people have like electricity in these areas when they're just constantly getting fucked.
Yeah, for real. Like all Florida, man, it's like 6 feet of sea level rise, and half of Florida is underwater. And humans want to live near oceans, right? So it's really bad for sea level rise. I mean, I think it's one of those things where our technology is going to be increasing exponentially, so we're going to be able to deal with some of these problems. I don't think that there's really any geoengineering feat right now that I would be fully gung-ho with. I kind of take the position that like we need to actually lay off the environment and fucking with the environment right now, let it recover, as opposed to like seeding the ocean with iron, which is like I've heard of one idea.
I've heard cloud seeding is kind of interesting.
well, that's yeah, I mean, in order to not reflect much of the heat off of the earth, yeah. I know there's a lot of positive feedback mechanisms that we don't fully understand right now. So I think kind of like just laying off and letting the oceans recover and animal populations is probably the best way of figuring it out.
There's a common sentiment that exists like in this area of the country whenever hurricanes do hit, and there is like devastation of like, well, we're just going to rebuild. Well, we're just going to, we don't have anywhere else to go. We're economically destitute. We're just going to wait for the FEMA check to cash out, and then we're going to pop another trailer. But we're going to have like 3 more cinder blocks under it, so that instead of being 4 feet off the ground, it's now 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same approach that people took with COVID, where they don't feel that there is any kind of control because they don't have any kind of adequate representation within their government. They don't have any adequate representation within their workplace. It does feel like people feel like they're just adrift. And there is a reason, I think, a valid one almost, that people within, especially the right, don't trust the government to do anything for them. Or when we say we can do universal health care and it could be cheaper and better.
No trust.
There is a reason people don't have that trust. It's because we've never given them a reason within these current generations to trust them. And there needs to be something that we do where it's so demonstrably effective.
I wouldn't say the current generation, like even the past is fucked on the trust front, like Tuskegee trials, Heal-A-Cell. I mean, like all sorts of shit.
I'm thinking like aside from the the externalities of like New Deal era, whenever we like rebuilt our infrastructure and we had publicly available colleges that are free or next to free, like the advent of Social Security, Medicare, like these were things that the government did for us that we still are. They're universal programs that it's unthinkable unless you're a Republican to get rid of Medicare and Social Security. Unthinkable. So it's just a matter of, I think, I kind of take this approach with healthcare, especially that regardless of whether or not you want it, you're gonna get it. There's like this, instead of this, that. Regardless of your ideology, regardless of whether or not you want it, we're doing the damn thing. And you can cry about it while you get free healthcare. And I know that's like untenable within American politics, but it just do it. Just do it. Forget these people who don't understand it or have been like propagandized to think that it's bad for them. Just like do it because they're gonna love it. Yeah,
but the representatives are getting like money from people who don't want them to do that. So that I think, just look at the daylight savings bill. Like I saw this video on TikTok that was so fucking funny.
I'm ready to go.
It was
ready to go. I know. Do 3 hours on daylight savings time.
The dude on TikTok.
Let's go.
The dude on TikTok, and I didn't even notice. I didn't even realize. I didn't even make the connection. He's like, dude, this is how fast this daylight savings bill is cruising. This is how fast things go when you don't have lobbyists and fucking funders trying to hold shit back. Shit passes like crazy. I'm like, oh my God. I never would have put those two things together, but you're fucking right. That's so sad.
I think I was memeing in somebody else's Discord, like, giving healthcare to people or addressing COVID or literally anything else that helps. Sleep. Fixing daylight savings time, real shit. Like that's our Congress in a nutshell. Like
no, it's
dumb,
just
symbolic, meaningless shit that has the optics of doing something is front and center, and actually doing something is not ever going to happen.
But it's just because of the monetary incentive not to. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's not because they don't want to. It's because there are
baby.
People paying them not to.
God, if we just got rid of Buckley v. Valeo and Citizens United, like we could really like put the foot on the gas for a lot of programs. God, and that it's weird how like that never comes up either in like a lot of like main political conversations, like in mainstream media.
The only time I ever heard it was Bernie.
Yeah, literally the only person that talked about it because the man is straight up policy. Like we always hear like dark money and like, oh, the influence of money in politics. Oh, these millionaires and billionaires, they're like buying politicians. It's like, well, yeah, because it's legal. We have legalized bribery. Let's make it illegal again.
Yep.
Make
bribery illegal
again. That's right, folks. We're
I
gonna
can't do a
make
good
America
Trump, but I
stronger
love when
again.
people can.
Yeah, I don't understand why like bigger states like California hasn't, and I forget what other. I think it was Vermont that actually had universal health care on the state level, and it didn't go through.
It got shot down.
Mismanagement.
Yeah. So that's what I don't understand. Especially California, it could actually make a big step forward in that. You know, why not? Newsom had some ideas of like paternity leave, which I haven't taken an hour of, by the way, for grad school, which is awful. But
Fuck grad school.
but the point is like
Can't wait.
I don't understand why. But I mean, I guess it's an argument from economy of scale, right? Saying that like California can't bear this burden of Medicare's fault because now everyone's going to go to California, or all the bills are going to go to the state of California, versus, a lot of times the state is actually trying to get people from, I forget if it's unemployment or welfare. I think it's unemployment's at the state level and welfare is at the federal level. And the state like actively tries to get people to go from the state coffers to the federal coffers. They're trying to constantly move the money around as opposed to just helping people. Exactly.
Yep.
Just help people, man. Just like, I don't understand if the California has the money to do it as the 5th largest economy in the world, all these other states or countries are able to do it with a much smaller economy than California. I don't understand how we can't get it to work.
Oh my God! I was told by a Swedish man the other day in a debate panel that I popped into for like 20 minutes before my brain melted, who told me that, oh no, you can't have universal health care in America because of states' rights.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Like,
I don't
And he
understand.
makes a point. He makes
Why?
a point.
yeah.
Well, it's the same reason that the national abortion laws aren't working out anymore. Like the Supreme Court rulings aren't staying. Because the states have state rights and can do whatever the fuck. I mean, not whatever pretty much whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I
something
agree
I've
with that.
never understood. Like, I've never been able to like wrap my mind around why we would create a system like that.
Because they were
Where-
scared of monarchy, and so they put all these a ton of systems in place to prevent that. But they created more problems
in,
on
like,
the other
our-
side.
Even in like our cultural attitudes, we don't see ourselves as like we have like the 4th of July, yeah, support our troops, blah blah blah, kind of like American mentality, America number one. But we also view people from other states as like it's somehow separate from us. We have an expression in like the South, thank God for Mississippi, because if it weren't for them, we would be
Yeah.
number 50 in everything. So it's very strange how we often look at our neighbors in our country who, for most people, will never go to those states. It's like most people, I think there was some kind of poll done on it. Most people don't ever leave the region of the country that they're in. If you're in the Southeast, you'll probably never leave the Southeast.
Wow, that's
Same for
crazy.
like, the Pacific Northwest. We just are on our own little islands, and we don't feel any kind of national unity unless we're going to war.
True.
Yeah. In which case, then we're horny for no-fly zones over Ukraine yesterday.
Yeah.
God, like that almost speaks to the virtue of like travel, like just going to meet different people,
Give
leaving your
me
home.
rail. I want rail. I want trains.
Yeah, and keep Elon away
You gonna
from
be
it.
trained? Is that-
Dude, I want like you're talking Thomas the Tank Engine. I'm talking Thomas the Bullet Train.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I that's one of the things that California, like was gonna do, and it was one of those things that's like skyrocketing the cost as soon as they proposed it, because everyone doesn't want that thing in their backyard, kind of stuff, and because California is the first in the country to do this, so now all these pieces have to be built. You can't just buy the piece; you have to like make it here and have all these the logistics of it going on. So I was really bummed that Newsom canceled that project. That was something that I was really, really sad about. But because especially California right now, we have like a surplus. We have a crazy surplus, making bunches of money. I don't understand why we can't try to pioneer some of these these things.
Can't imagine what that's like in a red state having a budget surplus. What?
Oh, well, we're the fifth
You guys
largest
ever-
economy in the world, dude. I mean, we're 2 times higher. The economy of California is 2 times larger than that of Texas, and then third is New York. So it's crazy, the difference.
So I do this every now and then on my channel just because I hate Louisiana so much. I have a video on my YouTube about it just so that like it's there. But there is a 2-part video called "Why Louisiana Stays Poor," and it breaks down the petrochemical corridor, also known as Cancer Alley, and the richest, most prosperous zip code in the state, and the poorest, like highest infant mortality, whatever, or lowest. I don't know how those metrics work. Which one's the bad one? But where it's the worst to live are the same zip code. And it's all because we basically pay petrochemical companies to set up shop in Louisiana. There are ExxonMobil, Shell, Honeywell, BASF terminals here, plants, that have like 99.99% of their property value untaxed. Absolutely ridiculous. Billions of dollars every year, trillions, depending on what year it is, that are just like
Yeah, dude.
gone.
Well, I
It's
mean,
all profit.
bro. I mean, shit. I mean, California, like the Prop 13. Have you heard of that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that is the third rail in California politics, where basically like it was sold as like, keep your grandma in your home, in her home, so keep her property taxes the same. But what's happened is that basically, like my parents like bought $150,000 home when I was born, and then now it's like 1.4 million. That's the crazy thing about Southern California, where pretty much all the homes are, and in the Bay Area obviously too, it's like all $1 million plus, where it's like it's impossible to get it because, and well, the reason why is supply and demand, where not enough homes are being built nowadays because so many people are staying in their homes. Why? Well, it's because like my parents, they could sell their house for 1.5, right? But then they could travel the world for $500K and then buy an apartment for $500,000, right? But they're paying that $500,000 for their property taxes now, as opposed to their 1.5. So their property taxes are going up 4 times. So
Yep.
they want to leave. So there's a bunch of empty homes in Southern California that no single families can buy. And it really is so frustrating.
I
And
mean,
we have go ahead, Amber.
sorry, go ahead. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say we have kind of an opposite issue right now because of oil and gas is very lucrative here. We have a lot of like international students that come to the state university, get an engineering degree, and they go work in the petrochemical corridor, and there needs to be housing. And our problem is that all of these like cookie cutter suburbs that are popping up, kind of like in the area that I grew up in, which is never mind, don't worry about where it is. Didn't want to dox myself. Build out of these neighborhoods had to be halted because when all of these suburbs are built up, they're built slightly above ground. And all of that low-lying water area where it's supposed to soak into the ground whenever we frequently have floods just trickles into all of the low-income neighborhoods. So we're doing
fuck.
like flood gentrification
Oh my
in these
God,
areas.
that's
We've had
awful,
to
dude.
no more neighborhoods.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, building is just tough. Building new homes right now is really tough. The cost of materials is super high. The amount of people that don't want new developments in their neighborhoods is really high. So there's a interesting piece kind of like going on, well, with Berkeley, and they're like, and this is a big. I have actually seen some grad students with some really bad takes on this, saying that like, the amount of people are like, do we accept new graduate students? Can we afford graduate students right now, and or undergrads and all that kind of stuff? And it's just really sad for me to see people fighting to not have new undergrads or grad students at institutions, because I think that's one of the reasons why California is succeeding so well is because of the UC system. So
Yeah, that's fucking NIMBYism applied within an educational context. It's NIMBYism, and actually, I mean, I think the legal crux of it was literally environmental law and regulation.
yeah, exactly. They're
trying to be applied
Exactly.
to deny people a fucking education. Like,
exactly.
neoliberalism is so deranged and detached from reality that it will use anything at its fucking disposal to try and like save the people and charge money. Like,
Yeah.
they don't want all these people showing up and fucking, flooding, flooding their neighborhoods with college students. Like,
Exactly. It's
Like,
like 20% or
because
whatever.
that's-
like you hear those arguments with like racial demographics, right? Like, that's the most common like background. I don't want these people moving into my goddamn neighborhood and they're poor and they're driving down my property value. But like, college students, like, they're transient. Like, they're not always going to be there. Even like, these people are going to fucking leave.
Yeah, I don't understand it myself. I think that there is like an interesting argument. I mean, there is like a divide as a STEM graduate student versus not. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that in the United States, like, you get paid to go to get a PhD in the United States as long as you're doing STEM, like something really like hard science related. The soft sciences, you have to take out loans a lot of times, like, in order to live, because you can't take a second job, or it's an illegal job that you take. That's
Or a
like,
master's degree.
yeah, exactly. I'm just talking about a PhD now. For masters, masters is a really bad deal. I don't understand. Like, if you're for pretty much anything other than an MBA, like, here's the cool tip: if you want to like get a master's for free, go into a PhD program and masters out. Do not go in as a master's for a bio degree. That doesn't make any sense, because you're paying money. Get it for free with a PhD. Just masters
Unless
out
you
early.
had bad grades in undergrad and you're trying to buff up your CV to get into grad school.
I would,
Because that was a
still-
consideration I made.
I would
but
still not do
yeah,
that. I would
I'm just
still
doing
not do
research instead, because fuck that.
Yeah, and that's what I did, and I think that it's more applicable and makes you a better scientist than doing a
Absolutely.
master's, in my opinion. Like, it's a really bad deal. It's like, professors don't necessarily want to take master students. It's a weird scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, I got a master's, but it was a funded program, so like, I didn't have to pay a fucking cent, and it was a 2 years like actual research based master's where I had to crank out another entirely separate thesis.
Yeah.
It was actually like dedicated towards like improving my ability as a scientist. It was about like non-traditional research models and shit like that. But all of that to say, like, that is the situation where if you're trying to like get a PhD, that's what you want to do. It's either that or start a PhD and then fucking master out.
Mhm.
Like, anything in between is just a scam. You are getting gouged for that shit.
Agreed. Yeah, it can be tough, man. It can be tough as like a university to say, like, we don't have funding for you, and then you put that on to the graduate student. And then, I mean, a lot of graduate students that I talk to are like, this isn't fair to me. They accepted me into this program and they literally can't pay for me. So it's not fair to me to constantly be hustling and begging for money when I should be learning. And I think that that's a valid concern. It's just really frustrating. It's hard to know, because you can't patent a lot of sociology research or a lot of like soft science research. It becomes this game where it actually incentivizes these sorry, I said companies, but the Freudian slip there. These universities to have biotechs spun out of their universities than like another history PhD, because the bio PhD could lead to a patent, and then that could lead to more money. And like we talked about
One day
many
I'll finish
times,
my degree.
like we talked many times, Marcus, the downfall of
One day.
academic institutions was allowing them to patent. I really feel like so many of these issues can all stem to that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably have a whole separate Ministry of Science on patents, because that, and like you said about fucking daylight savings time, we could probably talk for like another 4-hour block. You guys, It's
Okay.
almost been 4 hours. Like,
Yeah.
it's been
Daylight
3.5
saving time is
hours.
good. Daylight savings time keeps daylight savings time on, and that's it. There's no problem.
Some people prefer the other one. Do you guys
No,
like this
no,
one
they're
that we're
wrong.
on?
They're wrong. This is not. This is. Yeah, the daylight savings times on is good, because then you can actually like
I think
go
they
and do
both
things
suck.
outside, like after work. That's good.
Eternal Darkness.
That's no. We're saying no on voting no on Eternal Darkness, or I guess you could have like 24-hour daylight. That's the other option for.
Yeah, standard time always. That's what I'm an advocate for.
Okay, you're wrong, but it's okay.
Really?
I think
You're
you're
wrong.
both just being silly.
No,
And
I'm
I
not.
think-
I'm actually very passionate about this issue. I'm not kidding.
can see
I'm not
that.
kidding. Because it allowed me to surf. That's the thing. Whenever we lost daylight savings time, I couldn't surf after work. And
I
it
don't-
completely ruined everything. It ruined my life.
I don't care which one's which. I just don't want to fuck up my sleep schedule every
Okay,
6 months.
daylight savings
That's
time
all.
on. Daylight savings time should be on. That's it. Just put the on switch
All right.
on.
We'll save that discussion for another time.
Yeah.
Because that will be another very robust one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right,
You guys
folks.
want to call it?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
I think that's probably a good point to call it on. Grandma, let's plan next week on maybe like the deep dive into this React channel and the radicalization pipeline. Like, does that
Yeah.
sound like a good plan to you?
Yeah, I don't want to like put him on blast too heavy. So like, we'll give some context to those who weren't here for the broader discussion that
Right.
we kind of had, and then we'll kind of go into the actual like topic instead of putting this poor dude who doesn't know what half of Twitch is on blast.
Let's do Paul Control too, man. Let's do it all. Let's do all these
Yeah.
like people that
we
are
can
like.
we can talk about a bunch of people because
Yeah.
like the gamer
Feigl Ding.
people, the skeptic community, like they're all ripe for the picking.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably just like dedicate entire episodes one by one, like science chuds, radicalization pipelines in all of their various incarnations. Like, we can
Oh, yeah.
spread this out over
Oh,
a very long time.
Peterson too. Let's like read his fucking thing.
Oh yeah, I would like
Yeah.
to do a reading session of Ben Shapiro's terrible book.
He wrote a book. He wrote a book.
Oh, buddy, you need to read the book about the black kid with the Bart Simpson shirt.
Yep.
Well, as well. I mean,
It's about as sus as it sounds.
Oh yeah, the book opens up with a story of this. I think he's like a veteran who became a cop, and the story opens up with him like shooting this black kid, and like remembers distinctly like the Bart Simpson T-shirt he was wearing, like becoming like drenched in blood. It's also like very poorly written, so like that's what the main entertainment factor
dude,
is.
he wrote a book on porn, and I bet you there's no pictures. So fuck that guy.
Why would a man who, like is known for one sleeping in a separate bedroom from his wife? I don't know if you guys knew that, but they have separate
Yeah.
bedrooms. But also like not being able to have her achieve
the
orgasm.
cringe.
Why
It's too
would
bad.
Yeah, the dap, the dry ass
It
pussy.
was a subtle slip too on Twitter. I'll see if I can find it eventually. Where he was like, I went to my wife's room before I went to bed, and like people were like, wait, what? Like he had some like story he was telling, and then people were like, hold up, what did you back up?
I'll be honest though. like,
Self-report.
on a king bed, it feels like my wife and I are on completely different hemispheres. I'm like different zip codes. They're so big. It's
Yeah, the mind of Ben Shabibo is a very curious and
That is nuts.
scary place. Yeah, so that well, you bring up a really good idea. We could honestly just turn episodes into like going through all of these chud scholars' works, like reading Brett Weinstein's thesis, reading Shabibo's book. Like, there's so much good shit we could do with that.
Oh yeah, I'll see what we can dig up. Maybe me and Read and Rap will link up and see what we can dig up.
Beautiful.
Yeah, basically a Grem stream. Yeah, exactly, Mitch. Basically what I do.
Yeah, I mean, we can figure it out.
I gotta go.
We can do it through the ministry Discord.
I'm gonna have like naked kids running around in the back. Bath time just can't ended. And it's gonna we're gonna get TOS.
A,
here,
phrasing,
but-
and B, let's get off this call before we get TOS off the platform.
All right, yeah, I'll check you. I'll check you later.
All
All right, thank you, Grandma. I
right,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Peace, folks.
Yeah. Thanks,
It's been
Amber. Thanks,
fun.
Greg.
Adios.
Yeah,
Have a good
thanks,
stream,
guys.
dude. Peace. All right, everyone. That was fun. Thanks for joining Titan. I appreciate you. I will talk to you soon.